Okay, welcome everybody to Highland City Council. Today is Tuesday, May 5th, 2026, and we will start out with an invocation by Councilmember Rodella.
Our dear, kind, gracious Heavenly Father, we're so very grateful to be here today. We're especially grateful to be gathered as residents of Highland City and to be able to come together and decide on issues that are pertinent to our community and to those that raise families here and live here. And we're especially grateful for all our friends and neighbors that support us in all that we do. We love thee so very much, and we say these things humbly in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
And now Dr. Smith will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please arise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any other comment cards? Perfect. While we are collecting those, I will just remind you that Highland City is committed to civility and respect, and we ask everyone to act and speak accordingly. While we're waiting for the comment cards, I know Ms. Schramm is here in the front row, and we'll go ahead and get started with her. We're so happy to see you. Welcome.
I should put this down a little bit. Well, I was going to tell you that my name is Catherine Schramm, and I've lived in Highland too many years. I've been alive for too many years. Anyway, but I would like to address the council on an issue that's very important to me, and that is the issue of more than one mailbox for people who are renting from me, and there are many others in Highland City in the same situation. And I have talked to the postmaster, and he sent his guy up to look over the situation. And he and I did agree on a lot of things. It would make for happier, where's the 3-minute thingy over there? Okay, it would make for a better situation between landlords and renters if they each had their own mailbox. And in talking with Shad from the American Fork Post Office, he stated that if we would just put an A and a B on mailboxes, he says that is not changing the address. That is a directional and a safety issue. But Highland City told me I couldn't do that. But I talked to Rob. He and I have had several conversations, and I think we understand each other. And I would encourage Highland City Council to approve such a thing. And let us put in 2 mailboxes. I do currently have 2 mailboxes, but they're not delivering to the one. And they're locking mailboxes, and I would encourage Highland City to really think things through. The Shad told me about the accident that had occurred in Alpine recently, where a man needed the ambulance to come and get him and take him to the hospital, and by the time they found the crew found where he was to be picked up, he had died, because there were 2 houses with the exact same addresses on them. And so I wanted to bring that up. It is a safety issue as well. And I'm sorry, my friend helped me put this together and I've gone way off, but I would really hope that you would approve 2 mailboxes. And the postmaster, did Shad somebody come up and talk to you, any of you? No, okay. I hope that you will work with all the people in Highland who have apartments in their basements or an attached one. Mine's an attached one. And it would make for better results between the renters and the landlords. And I noticed that you're addressing detached accessory dwelling units tonight. And I was wondering if you had planned to discuss my issue later on. You have or you haven't?
My answer is yes on that.
I believe it's on tonight's proposal. Yep.
Oh, you're going to discuss it tonight or what?
I don't think we're going to, Mayor, can I comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think we're going to address the issue you brought exactly, but we're going to be talking about ADUs, both internal and external, and mailboxes and stuff like that. So, yes, but I don't think we're going to talk about your home exactly. Is that your question?
Well, I understand that.
Okay.
I would just really encourage you, and I appreciated the mayor's address in the 2 months ago about the reasons that Highland is such a pleasant place to live generally. And it is because everything is different. And my house, half of it's been there since 2013, and the other half has been there since 1972. And so I would appreciate it if you would seriously consider, from many viewpoints, of safety. And I don't know what time it is, but I think I'm done. Thank you for your patience.
Nope, we appreciate it. Thank you. And so one thing to note tonight, we appreciate it, is we have 3 items that are going to be public hearings. So we have a budget item, we have an item about decks and patios, and one about accessory dwelling units. So if your comments relate to one of those 3 things specifically, we can wait and do the comments directly proceed, like right with that item. So I know we've got Paul Burnside here to talk about e-bikes, which is not a public hearing on the agenda. So would you like to come make your comment? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Paul Burnside, Highland City resident, 21 years. I have an e-bike, it's class 2. I saw the Highland City newsletter. It said that they would be disallowed. And I feel it goes above and beyond what the state statute is that allows class 2 bikes. I use it because it has a throttle. My bike is 50 pounds. It's hard to get it started without a throttle. It goes 20 miles an hour, same as a class 1 e-bike. So I'd like the city to revise their resolution or their ordinance to allow class 2 e-bikes. And I think that it was in the email that I sent out. The rest of that's pretty self. All over the place. So I don't know how you can ride through a city trail or a park without going, on the Murdoch Canal, or et cetera, without going through Highland. So I think that the class 2 should be allowed, and I would like that changed. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have a communication item related to e-bike rules and the state law change, and my guess is this will be something we talk about a couple of times. Okay, the rest of the comment cards that I have are all about the library. So if anybody would like to comment on something besides the library, or if there's a comment related to the library that you would like to make now rather than waiting for the item, we can go ahead and do that. So Yes. Mr. Warren.
I'm commenting also on the e-bike issue. I once again rode my Class 2 e-bike to a council meeting today, and would just echo the comments that were just made. Mine's pedal assisted with a throttle, doesn't go above 20, and very much looks like a regular bike. I probably use the pedal assist at the highest level more than I should. I could probably benefit health-wise from a little less of that assist, but that's between me and you guys, and now the rest of the public. Yeah, so I kind of feel like no matter what, I'm gonna keep on riding that bike. Spoiler alert. So, but if you have any questions from a daily rider, I will stick around during the discussion items, but anyway, you guys know where I stand on this, and I appreciate your thoughtful consideration. Thank you.
Thanks, Wes. Is there anybody else who would like to comment right now?
Here's a card.
Perfect. Okay. Would you like to comment now? Yeah, go ahead. So you can comment now, and then we also have an open public hearing as we talk about the budget. So we have those two opportunities.
Okay, thank you. My name is Charmin Blood. I'm a resident of Highland, and I just am aware of the $30 per year per family tax that has been proposed to support the library, and I wholeheartedly support that. I think a library is a gift we give ourselves and our community, and it is it's an investment in our youth, in our adults, and our seniors. I just think it's a great idea, and I support it. Thanks.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to comment now? Yeah, come on up. And if you could just introduce yourself, that would be great.
My name is Nicolina Tanner. I have lived here in Highland since 2018. No, 17. I have a little thought that I would like to share about the library, and then I collected some other ones, so maybe we can reset the comments for each email that I'm going to read. These emails, I'm going to just say, I didn't educate them on the tax. So this is just positive feedback from the community and the citizens on the library. Okay. As a little girl, my mom would drag us all a half hour away to the Missoula Public Library. We lived in a rural area, and Missoula was our closest library. Her excitement and appreciation of the library just oozed out of her. In fact, it's one of the few places we went with my mom that she was truly excited about. She would pick out all of her favorite picture books, and we would take them home in piles. She always seemed to check out her limit. And then we would plow through the books and repeat. Every new place we moved to, she would check out the library, and it seemed when libraries started to team up and be on a circuit with each other, she would visit each one. She definitely gave me my love of libraries and the access to books and media for free. I have tried to instill that love in my own children. We have paid lots of fines for books that have been late or lost, but I'm okay with that. I chuckle and I say, hey, if it's a subscription that's $10 a month, that's cheaper than other subscriptions I have. And I think they don't do a late fee anymore. The library has truly blessed my life in amazing ways. Most important are the relationships I have with my origin family and my current family that I'm creating. Okay, this one is from a lady that lives fairly close to the library. She's got 7 kids, and she homeschools. Our family loves the library because it has helped our family build stronger reading culture. My favorite question I get from my children often, especially during the summer, is, Mom, if I finish my jobs, can we go to the library? Sometimes we all go, sometimes they scooter over themselves. They walk in the door, heavy-laden backpack, past the Mom-approved book check, and then disappear to their rooms for the afternoon, devouring them. The littles especially love snuggling up with Mommy and Daddy, heaving their stack of fresh stories into our lap. These moments are special and meaningful. Few things bring our family together more than gathering around a good book. We have also especially loved the addition of Yodo cards. My children love to fall asleep to new songs or stories at night, and Mom and Dad are ever so grateful to have to not buy as many. I love our library because it feels good. It's clean, engaging, interactive for little children, peaceful and relaxing. The staff is friendly and kind. Highland Library holds a special place in my heart and in our family.
How many, do you have a bunch of neighbors who sent cards with you?
I have 4 more emails.
Would it be possible for us to, for you to hand those over so we can get copies of them for all of us so that we can read them all? Is that okay?
Yeah, you don't want me to keep going right now?
Are they all from neighbors? Like they have like sign names and things on them? I just want to know who we're getting comments from.
Yeah, these are, like, there's a few from the people in my neighborhood, and some people don't live in my neighborhood. I have a...
Are they all generally in support of the library?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead? I would like to hear maybe one more, but then if you wouldn't mind giving them to our staff so that we could get copies, and that way we can read all of them, and they will be in the record as well.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Or she could read the rest of them at the public hearing.
Sure. Well, you can, yeah, if you prefer to read them all.
Okay, this one's to Mayor Bills, so I'll save that one for the public hearing. I'll do this one. This is my next door neighbor. She's really great. She had 11 kids. And she says, I'm a grandmother and I use the LibU library regularly. My life is so much better when I'm listening to great literature as I do my work. My grandchildren love story time. Some grandchildren live in Highland and some visit during the holidays, but they all love stories and activities. I appreciate the convenient location. I've lived in Highland for 38 years, and we used to have to drive to the American Fork one. I know that it's not even that far, but life is better with a library near.
Thank you. Thank you. And then I would love if you would read the others during the public hearing, and then we could maybe also get copies. That would be great.
Thank you.
I appreciate you bringing those. Is there anybody else who would like to comment now? Okay, then we can close our unscheduled public appearances and head to consent items A, B, and C. Do we have a motion on those items?
Madam Mayor, I move that we adopt the consent agenda.
That was a motion by Councilmember Courtney
I'll second it.
and a second by Councilmember Campbell.
I would like to pull 2C.
Excuse me, I didn't realize.
Right.
Yep.
We have to vote on this.
Well, we need to pull our motion.
Just for the sake of process, I seek unanimous consent to withdraw the motion.
Okay. I'd like to pull 2C, just because I had some questions.
And do we have unanimous consent to pull Councilmember Courtney's motion? Councilmember Rice, are you good with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right, yeah. go-
I just wanted to ask a little bit about 2C. So tonight, as we talk about changing the funding for the library, we have to follow a lot of new state statutes, and one of them was designating a city budget officer. And I'm just curious, we've decided in this motion is to basically confirm Aaron Wells, our city administrator. Why is it we need a city budget officer for this? Yeah,
It's,
I know it's state law, but why did they want that?
the state law just requires certain activities be done by the budget officer. It just says the budget officer shall, and then has a list of the requirements to be done, the statements made, the tentative budget prepared. And so we are just trying to make sure that we conform to that. The city has also traditionally had its kind of budget officer be handled through its finance director. And at the moment, our finance director is otherwise occupied. And so for at least this process, we'd like to make it clear that the budget officer is Erin, so she can make those presentations and we can comply with state law. We don't anticipate this to be a forever thing.
Okay, so if we had the CFO, who wasn't.
It would be David if he was.
It would be David. Okay,
Yes.
that was my question. I just didn't understand. Okay.
I have no interest in retaining this long-term, just
Okay.
as long until
Okay.
David can be back.
So I'm sorry I pulled it the last minute. I just wanted to understand
That's okay.
who is the budget officer if
No, it's important.
the CFO is here, so, okay. So go ahead, I'll support you.
If there's nothing else with regard to the, then, Madam Mayor, I move to adopt the consent agenda with all 3 items as listed in the agenda.
Perfect, thank you.
I'll second it.
Okay, then we are ready for a vote. That was Councilmember Courtney and Campbell with the second.
It did, it went through.
You got it, and it looks like that passes 5-0.
It took a minute for it to show here.
Okay, moving right along. So looking at our agenda, we have our next 3 items are resolutions. And then following the resolutions, we have our truth in taxation hearing, then we have public comment, and then we'll come back to the council for discussion. So we're gonna kind of proceed in that order. So first, we have these 3 resolutions. And council, if you want to save any budget items that are not related to the library for the budget hearing, then that would be appreciated. And then, just so everybody's clear here, so this is just the start of a very long process called Truth in Taxation. So you're going to be hearing a lot about this over the next 3 or 4 months. And so buckle in and get ready. There is no decision has been made. We're only starting the process, starting the public comment, so we can understand what people would like to do. So that being said, Erin, go for it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've been doing this here for 10 years, and for some reason I feel nervous tonight after all this time. It feels different standing up here, I'll be honest. Oh, yes. For the record, my name is Erin Wells. I am temporarily the budget officer, the city administrator for the city. I have notes that I normally don't have because, to Councilmember Smith's point, this is a very unique process. Highland has not done truth and taxation in a number of years. And since that time, actually this year in particular, state law has changed dramatically about how truth and taxation is supposed to be run. And so I have notes up here to help me to hopefully make sure that I don't miss anything. But staff has spent a lot of time, as I well know many of you have, listening to webinars and studying checklists and everything to make sure that we are hopefully checking all of those boxes and following the process right as the state outlined. I will say it is, to Councilmember Rice's point, she made this in a different meeting, the process seems to be designed to be repetitive on purpose to make sure that people are absolutely aware that the council is considering a tax increase. To Mayor Bill's point, any vote you take tonight is not deciding whether or not Highland does a tax increase. That final vote will not come until August 11th. So we are many months away from that, and at least 3 more, including tonight, public hearings away from that, and probably more public meetings as well to get input from our residents. But we've been internally, well, not just internally, but in public meetings, talking about the budget since January, as you all know. This is our first public hearing on it, though, through all of this. So, like I said, there are checklists here. So the first 3 votes you're going to take tonight are on resolutions. That the first is we have to provide separate notice that we are going to make a statement in a meeting that the budget considers a tax increase. Number 2, the second one is that we make that statement that the budget does include a tax increase. And then the third is an impact of what that tax increase would mean. Again, however you vote on these, it's not saying yes or no to the tax increase. It's just saying it's just you voting to say, do you think that we complied with what the state has asked us to do? And so then fourth, we'll talk about the budget itself, and we'll talk more generally outside of just the tax increase in the library. And then finally, the last item you'll be voting on the budget is a resolution that says we met all of the requirements. We did these things in this meeting. So any questions about the process before we dive in? It's an adventure.
On the public hearing part, so everybody's aware, there will be another public hearing in August, and that is the one that you'll be notified by postcard. That one is the one that officially, the meeting will only be the public truth and taxation hearing. Nothing else on the agenda. We invite you to come back for that. So you're not finished tonight. We appreciate your involvement, but this is a long process, and we'd like to carry you along with us during that process.
And there's an open house. Is that
And there will be an
correct?
open
And
house,
there's an
yeah.
open
So
house in
we've got a
regards to that as well.
Absolutely. I've got a slide on this later, but so you've got tonight, we have a public open house next Wednesday, May 13th. We would love all of you to come from 5 to 8 here at City Hall, and we'll have a lot more of an informal session where people can meet the mayor and city council, talk about the budget, get a preview of what's going on. Then we have, actually, even in June, we will, if council again continues to look towards potentially doing a tax increase, there will be an interim budget that we adopt in June with another public hearing. We anticipate some more public meetings and then the final budget in August. So we've got a long time to go still. Okay, for some of these items, I am actually going to be, staff feels that it's best for me to read some things verbatim, and so I am just going to read directly out of the packet for some of these. But before I get to that, because we are talking about the tax increase, I felt like it just made sense to just talk about the tax increase specifically right now and go into some of the reasons, the nuts and bolts behind the data and the reasons behind why it is in the budget. As a reminder, we've talked about this before, but staff is presenting a budget that we got feedback on from council, right? There's a lot of back and forth based on the priorities you've set, and so we've set this budget. It is not staff's budget, it is ultimately your budget that you get to vote on, and so we're looking for that feedback from you all. But without further ado, I think we'll dive into the library if we're okay and ready for that.
Well, go ahead, Liz, with your comment.
I beg your pardon. I was going to say, Madam Mayor, may I
Yes.
make a comment? Sorry. So I just kind of wanted to, let everybody understand that this is not about loving the library or hating the library. Everybody loves the library. Mm-hmm. We do. But this is about truth in taxation. And this is what the state legislature has required of us. I don't know if you said that. Maybe you did. But this is something that is required for us to do in order for this to pass, and I believe it will pass. So if you're thinking that the library is in jeopardy, it is not. Okay, thank you.
So I want to make one comment, I think, well, two comments actually. So first off, I just wanted to be clear that this is an open and transparent process, start to finish. No decisions have ultimately been made, and that's what this period of public input is for. So just to be very clear, that's what the next few months are, so that we all understand that. And then Aaron, if you want to go ahead, let's let Aaron make it through a presentation, and then we can see if we have questions after that, but let's get through this first item, and then we can ask some questions.
So can I ask a quick question about process?
Please.
So we have kind of each little segment of this, and we repeat the same stuff over and over in the packet per state statute. So are we going to combine those now, or are we going to do each one with a separate vote?
So right now, my intention was to talk to you about the tax itself and the all of the nuts and bolts behind it, and then vote. You have to vote on each of those three first, and then I would talk more generally about the budget beyond just the tax increase, and then you vote on the tentative budget, was my intention.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Mayor, then do we get to talk after the third one on the tax?
Yeah, you can even talk after the first resolution.
But it seems like it's kind of redundant. So
They
maybe
are going to be.
Yeah,
They,
okay.
the votes will absolutely be redundant,
Yes.
Okay.
and I am sorry for that. We don't want to be, if the council does choose to do a property tax increase, we don't want to be disqualified on a technicality, so.
We appreciate the attention to detail.
Thank you.
We want to do it the right way.
Yes, okay. So I think a lot of this meeting is going to be talking about the library property tax, which is important, but I wanted to put it a little bit in context. Can you go to the next slide for me? So the library itself is about 2% of the total general, or not general fund, the total city budget. So look for yellow throughout this presentation. Kind of the yellow gold is, oh, I can't draw on this one, is what we always call out the library for. So the library is about 2% of the entire city budget. So because it has a dedicated property tax, of course, it gets a lot of attention, but just to kind of provide some context to what we're talking about there. And then next slide, please. Also, you're going to see some percents tonight, and they look a little scary, especially when we're talking about property tax, because what we're talking about is a 53.8% increase on the library property tax, but I want to be very clear to everyone here, that is not your entire tax bill, nor is it even your entire city tax bill. So the pie chart in front of you outlines what a typical Highland home, where their property tax dollars go. So the biggest chunk of the pie, 73%, goes to the school district. So when they talk about raising property taxes, it's probably very significant when you talk about your total tax bill. The city portions combined are 9% of your property tax bill. This is an average home, and 1% is going to the library. So again, of your whole property tax bill, 1% is the library, and that 1% is what we're talking about doing a 53% increase on. Okay, moving along. All right, so the dollar amount. The Utah County Assessor's Office tells us that the average Highland home is a little over $1 million. So that is the average value of the Highland home according to Utah County. Currently, that home is paying $53.88 per year for the library property tax. The increase, if the council chooses to move forward with what is proposed, the increase is $28.65, again, per year, which would bring the total that an average home would pay to $82.53. So again, that is a 53.8% increase, but again, because the library is a small part of our total tax bill, it would actually be a 7.6% increase of the total tax that people pay to Highland City, our residents, I should say, pay to Highland City. Okay. Revenue breakdown for the library. Why is property tax such a big deal to them? Well, because it is a majority of their budget. So 71% of the library's revenue comes from property tax. And I apologize, I meant to fix the key on this and I didn't. We try to not make money, support the library in other ways. Non-resident cards and the motor vehicle tax are a big one, as well as this was actually fiscal year 25, or fiscal year 26, the current fiscal year that we're in. Grants and donations are another thing that our library director absolutely seeks to pursue to try to offset. We also have a Friends of the Library group that does book sales and other fundraising for us, but as you can see, a majority of their revenue really does come from that dedicated tax.
Aaron, if I could add, the 5% there, that's the purple, that's a transfer from the general fund, which is not a typical part of it was a measure that the council took this year for this year only, but that 5% there is not usually.
Absolutely, that's not usually something that the city has done historically, is transfer in, but to help make the library fund balance this fiscal year, we did that transfer in.
And just to be clear for everybody listening, when we say this fiscal year, we do not mean the one that the budget we are talking about tonight. We mean the budget that we are currently operating under.
Yeah, that will last through June of this year. And so the budget we're talking about, tentative budget, starts July of this calendar year.
That's not the $417,000.
Correct. So this was about $20,000 that is in fiscal year 26's budget.
Thank you.
Not the 6-7 budget. All right, next slide. We've all been waiting to say that. Okay, well, I wanted to show a video because there are a lot of misconceptions about how does property tax work, especially when it comes to inflation. I think a common thought is when my home value goes up, I pay more taxes to the city, which is not true because of how state law has set up property taxes. So this is a video that Utah League of Cities and Towns, it's kind of like the lobbying organization of local governments, put together. It's formatted to be on a phone, that's why it looks that way, but I do think it's helpful information that I thought would be helpful for the council and hopefully the public. So Jay, will you play that for us? We'll try it this way.
That was quick.
Property values are key to determining how much property tax an owner pays. County assessors determine the market value of each property. The market value assessment is intended to be close to what your house would sell for. The market value is also the base amount that a tax rate is applied to. Properties are taxed at 100% of market value, unless they qualify for a residential exemption. Only 55% of the assessed market value of a primary residence change due to market shifts, property improvements, or the county's reassessment of the property. Counties provide property owners with an opportunity to appeal market value. Increased property values do not result in your local government collecting more money. However, different increases in property values can result in tax shifts between property owners. For example, if your home's value increases $10,000 and your neighbor's stays the same, you may set their budgets independently of property values, meaning rising values alone don't increase government revenue, but changing values can shift the tax burden among property owners.
That's a lot of work, Aaron. That's really great.
Oh, no,
Really,
I
it's a
did
lot of
not
work.
do that.
Well, I know you didn't, but it's a lot of work to put it all together.
Thank you.
Can I just
Please.
condense that? The bottom line is what we receive from the residents of Highland is exactly the same as we received in 2009, and except for growth, meaning new homes coming in. That's the only way we get more money, is through increase in taxes that's created by an addition to the tax base. The inflation that goes, your tax rate actually goes down. And that's basically what this is telling you. So it is a common, before I got in this role, even when I was on the Planning Commission, I did not understand that as a commissioner. It wasn't until I got here and delved into, because Scott Smith is the guru of our budget, and I had a goal that I was going to know as much as he does about the budget.
I'm going to tell you something.
I've worked hard on that goal, and I've still yet not achieved it. Scott's a mastermind when it comes to the budget, because he has the experience, years of experience with the budget. But we don't get more because your property value goes up. It's only when there's growth in the city.
So are
Mayor, can I
we
make a
allowed to
comment?
ask any questions here, Madam Mayor? Yes,
Let's let Erin finish her presentation on this item, and then we'll do comments.
I was just going to clarify a little thing.
Okay.
So Ron, thank you, I appreciate it. So one thing that had to do with this little video that I think we don't realize is it's not the size of your property necessarily that counts for your property tax. It's usually the structure plus the property. For example, when we did some study on the open space neighborhoods where we have some homes that are on very small lots, oftentimes they paid as much property tax assessment as people on 1 acre lots in another part of the city. So it depends sometimes exactly where you live, and that's what this video was kind of telling you. So property tax assessment is kind of a real complex thing, I think. Okay, sorry. Okay.
You're good.
Apologize, I'm walking back and forth in case you guys want to talk to the audience and you don't need me in the way. So we're still getting used to this. Let's talk about the history. So to Councilmember Campbell's point, so we established a library, so I'm talking just about library right now. We established a library property tax in 2007, and the library was open in 2008. Since that time, the only time that we have touched property taxes, the library has to decrease, right? So the tax burden in 2010, council spent, it was, right, recession, it was a really hard time economically. The council spent a lot of time cutting the budget and reduced the tax burden. And again, that was some efforts that was made in 2013. It was funny when we were researching minutes, Jay was doing all of the research for me, and he said, oh look, Aaron Wells interned during that time. So I remember Councilmember Smith being there, and us spending a lot of time, but in both those instances, the tax burden, the intention from the council at that point was to decrease it to the residents at that point. So we have not done an increase to the library tax rate. Since that time, we've had growth, right? Which, to what Councilmember Campbell was saying, it adds to what the library brings in, right? Because each new home brings in some additional tax revenue. But at that same time, our demand continues to go up and inflation continues to go up. And as this video just taught us, property tax inflation is not captured in property tax. It's specifically designed to discount inflation so that local governments have to go through this process if they want to do a tax increase. Questions on that? Okay. All right, so the rate. Let's talk about the rate itself. When you look at a question was asked in one of our earlier budget work sessions, where are we at in comparison with other communities? So this, we decided to isolate just down to communities who have dedicated library taxes. So you won't see all of our neighbors on here because we're fairly rare in that instance. So again, the little yellow is us. So a whole bunch of zeros before the number is where we are at currently. You see on the, towards the bottom right of your screen. And then if the property tax rate that's presented in front of you is adopted, we would move up in terms of the order, but still would be well below that average line overall of where we can be, and well below the statutory limit as well. Okay. What are we going to do with the money? So what is the point? And we'll talk about this a little bit in the impact statement that we have to make as well, but I'm going to let Karen talk to this a little bit more too, but high level, there's three main buckets that this will help with. The first is staffing. So what this would do, right now we have one full-time staff member and the rest are part-time staff members in the library. This would bring on, it would transition one of the current part-time staff members to full-time, bringing our total full-time to 2. And it would add one additional part-time staff. The reason that is needed is for two things. First would be to keep up with Timpanogos Library Consortium, or what we call TLC. Has it been a year since we've joined TLC? That is a shared partnership we have with Pleasant Grove and American Fork, where essentially we have a shared book catalog, and we transfer books back and forth almost as if we are a county-type system. And that has been much more popular than was anticipated. It's a fantastic resource for our residents, for our patrons, but it's taking a lot of staff time. The second reason that the library is hurting for staff time is to do with programming. Our programs continue to be popular, and we are struggling to even keep pace with our current programming needs. Fairy Tale Ball is one of our popular programs that we do once a year, and we've had to postpone that just because we're doing our best to keep pace with TLC and the other needs. Highland Senior Hub is something that's been going on for the past few months. It's a grant-funded program where the library is reaching out to seniors and has a weekly activity for seniors. It's partnering with the Arts Council and Mountain Land Association of Governments for that. But when that grant does elapse, this tax would help us to be able to continue that program. And then finally would be our electronic resources, commonly called Libby. So if you have the Libby app on your phone, it comes from the library, and it allows e-audiobooks, e-magazines, e-regular books, and Historically, we have gotten some funding from the state and from the federal government for that resource, but they have cut back their budgets, and so now we have a large increase to our Libby costs to keep that going.
And I think that, Madam Mayor, may I? I think that you need to explain how Libby works too, that every time, it used to be that you could just click on it and click on it. You know, publishers like Simon & Schuster, they no longer do that.
Yeah.
It's every time you click, you are charged. The library is charged.
The library. So because the state has changed their formula, right? We're all part of the Beehive Library Consortium, and the state has changed their formula that they charge based on use. And people in our community, Karen will talk more to this, but people in our community love books and they love Libby. So, which is great, right? We want them to love that resource, but it does mean that we have a big share of that pie, ultimately, and a big share of that bill. So every time we check out a book, please use the book or the audiobook.
And
yes.
the federal support for that program disappeared.
So did the state.
Yep.
And so did the state.
It disappeared at the federal level, so the state can't pass that on to us anymore, and we don't anticipate it. Well, who knows, right? Federal is so hard to predict, so I love working for local.
We're predictable.
More so. I don't have, never, I'm not going to say that. Okay. All right. Up next, so this is going to be a tag team effort. If you'll go to the next slide, I wanted Rob to talk a little bit. As we were talking about this, through this process, we were reminded that the library was actually discussed in the general plan that was just recently adopted in January. So I wanted him to talk a little bit about that and how we think that relates, and then Karen's going to share some statistics about the library.
Rob Patterson, Highland City Attorney and Planner. You may know me from previous council meetings. So you all remember the general plan. It was a wonderful project to work on. And it is wonderful for me as we start working on different projects. We'll talk about ADUs later. We'll have other things. I get to refer back to it and see how we're implementing the general plan going forward. And this one, as we had this kind of title as a draft, and I realized it is a paraphrasing of what the general plan actually says. It talks about, in the general plan, how to strengthen Highland as a community, and it points to, on page 28, that the Civic Center featuring the Splash Pad, City Hall, and Library is a key town center focal point. Highland can boost activity by enhancing amenities, programming, and events, and by exploring expansion onto adjacent property to strengthen city services. This would reinforce the Civic Center as the vibrant heart of the town center. And then later, we actually have a chapter dedicated to public facilities and services in the general plan. As part of that, we set goals and implementation strategies. Goal 2 of that chapter says, explore options to strengthen Highlands community institutions. And implementation 2.1 says, expand library programming, community outreach, and partnerships, including joint access to regional library catalogs, and maintain, update, and follow the library's strategic plan to ensure ongoing relevance, sustainability, and responsiveness to community needs. Obviously, the general plan is just a guiding document, but the general plan did contemplate, and you all worked on it for a very long time, and contemplated that the library was part of that, and it was an institution that needed to be strengthened. Obviously, how it gets strengthened is up to the council. It's a policy decision. But it is referenced in the general plan as something that should be part of the city's overall community goals and outreach efforts. So with that, if there aren't any more questions about the general plan, I'll turn it over to Karen.
Good evening, Mayor Bills, City Council, members of the public. My name is Karen Liu. I am the Library Director of Highland City Library. Tonight, you're going to see data and charts comparing our library to peers across the state. But before we look at those numbers, I wanted to share two numbers that I think define the reality of Highland City Library. I want you to keep these in mind. 57 and 18. Out of the 60 public library systems in Utah, we rank 57 in revenue per capita. We've maintained that near bottom ranking while our population has grown by over 36%. Since 2008, our funding has been static. Cumulative inflation has increased by over 50%. For 18 years, our staff have filled that massive gap with their own sheer resourcefulness. And tonight, I want to show you exactly what that resourcefulness has cost us, why it's not really sustainable long-term, and what we can do about it. So here's our first data point about circulation of physical items per capita. And to understand what that 36% growth in Highland population means, we can look at these circulation or checkout numbers. All of this information I'm sharing with you is information available to the public from the State Library website at library.gov, library.utah.gov under Library Development Program, and you go to public statistics. So you can pull all of this. They have a great tool that you can compare our library with other libraries in the state and across the United States. What this data set shows us is that Highland City Library checks out more items per capita than any library in Utah amongst our statewide peers, which I'll explain in a moment, amongst all the libraries in Utah and across the United States. This is incredible. Looking at this data is really exciting to me. Who is in our peer group? The State Library uses this calculation, which includes service area, FTE, number of card holders, the total revenue, and number of library visits. And I want to clarify something for the public. When it says we have 5.26 FTE, that doesn't mean we have 5 full-time people. It means that if we took every hour worked by every single employee that we have part-time employees and me, and we bundle them together, it equals the work capacity of 5.25 full-time people. And again, these are the top 5 peers in our group, and we can see that the funding, for instance, for Brigham City Library is at $929,000, which is more than double our operating revenue. Next. There have been questions about why some of our children can't just use our school libraries. And school libraries are amazing spaces. I've worked in school libraries. I can attest to that. They are amazing. Sometimes they are not for everyone. The state estimates Highland's homeschool population is between 300 to 500 children. And we heard testimony today of someone saying that they're a homeschooler and that they love to use the library. For those families, we are their school library. Also, once they are 18, they and other adults can continue to use this library. Our public library is open during the summer hours when many school libraries are closed. Looking at this circulation data here, this is Highland City Library children's material circulation per capita. We check out more children's material per capita than, again, statewide peers, than all Utah libraries and the United States. If you look at these graph points, Highland City Library is the yellow.
Karen, why isn't there a national one on 2025? Or did I just miss it?
No, regarding IMLS, so they capture data, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, which is the federal organization that oversees public libraries across the United States and funds us. They capture data, and they are behind, usually by 1 to 2 years. That's an awesome question. Thank you for asking. It is confusing sometimes as we capture these data points, so please feel free to ask me if you have questions. I did have someone ask, why can't we staff our story time with volunteers like some libraries? State certification requires us to be open a certain number of hours and to have paid staff. We use skilled staff to prepare and teach story time. Our staff are trained in literacy concepts, in pedagogical techniques. They support children, caregivers, and parents. To quote Library Leadership Journal about story times, librarians don't just read books, they build brains. Intentional story time is a high-yield investment in community human capital. And this data point here is attendance at live programs ages 0 to 5 per capita. So I pulled this one. They have attendance at live programs for the various age groups. I pulled 0 to 5 because that is our story time. And again, look at the yellow bar, Highland City. We excel at attendance per capita more than any of the libraries in Utah. This is really remarkable to me.
Are the other libraries required to, are you required to put this data in? I'm
Yes.
just curious if everybody does it
Yes, all
correctly.
certified. All libraries that are certified from the
Okay.
state. So here we have our electronic material circulation, otherwise known as Libby. One of the largest increases to our budget has been Libby. There's a misconception that Libby is free. Libby is not free. Libby is funded by the state, by our library's budget, and therefore taxpayer dollars. Libby costs have increased for us by 500%. Why is that? Previously, it was subsidized by the state with state and federal dollars. They did lose significant funding. So the state library moved to a formula where we are umbrellaed with all libraries across the state except for the very large systems like Salt Lake County, and we share Libby usage. This is how we are able to fund Libby fully. But the new formula requires us to go by pure usage. So if we use 1.4% of Libby checkouts of the entire state, then we pay 1.4% of the Libby costs. So that has gone up for us exponentially by 500%. We are not able to charge for services like Libby based on Utah Code 9-7-401, which tells us each library established under this part shall be free to the use of the inhabitants of the city where located, subject to the rules adopted by the library board. Bless you. And that is just to ensure we don't double dip in taxing our citizens. Now, if we were to become decertified by the state, let's say we charged for Libby, we'd be decertified. We would lose access to significant state and federal grants. We would lose access to the Beehive Library Consortium, which gives us Libby access. This slide is our local operating revenue per capita. When you look at it, our local operating revenue per capita is $17.24. Utah Library's median local operating capita revenue per capita is $36.42. So we are roughly half of what the median of libraries are. And what does that mean? We have existed well below our means for 18 years. We've been in a state of managed decline with some really dilapidated children's books. We have broken furniture for the staff, not enough books. That will be spent down. After our fire in January, we started taking inventory. What will things cost when we need to replace them? We do need to maintain some small reserves because things like our security gates that monitor who come in and out against theft, et cetera, and daily people counting, those gates 10 years ago cost us $10,000. So that's going to increase. Our self-checkout machines alone cost anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a piece.
Karen, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is that inappropriate, Madam Mayor? May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, actually, this is going to go to another question that I have. So when you
Well, if
say
it's going to go to multiple questions, then maybe let's let
I'll
her.
do one. I'll do
Okay.
one. I promise.
Okay.
So when you say you have reserves, is this the $80,000 we're talking about?
Yes, this is, I think it was at 80, actually, we've spent about 13,000 of it. So it'll be less than 80,000.
Okay.
So that has been partially spent down already.
Okay.
So while there is a library foundation, their money is generated through private donations and private donors, and that's not money that we, the library, can access. The foundation determines and votes on how to spend it. The City Council has generously discussed paying back $417,000 to the library over time. I know that sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money to an average individual, but when we look at it through the lens of an organization, it doesn't cover even 1 year of the library's operating expenses. If the council chooses to fund us this way, it would only prolong the inevitable because these are one-time funds for ongoing expenses that continue year after year. So I asked you to remember the numbers 57 and 18. How do we compare to the rest of the state in terms of our local operating revenue? Highland is ranked 57 out of 60. We are above Helper City, Hiram, and Santaquin. Someone asked me recently, well, how have we been able to do it so far if we are so poorly funded? I'll be honest, through a lot of personal sacrifice of those who came before me. There have been a lot of unpaid hours, working on projects at home, spending their own money, not claiming reimbursements, not taking wage increases, by those who wanted the library to continue. We have operated with more than efficiency. We have used human capital, and it hasn't been compensated for. As challenging as it is, it's important for us to share what our true operating costs are to the community. If we receive the increase, how would we use it? We are now 1 year into Timpanogos Library Consortium, and it's been an incredibly popular service. I don't think it was anticipated to be so popular, to have more than a few hours of additional workload. It's been really seamless, where people are using it without even realizing the amount of workload generated for our staff. TLC has been incredibly beneficial to Highlands residents. By facilitating on average over 1,100 incoming items monthly, and we transfer out only 800. This ensures Highland residents receive the significant surplus of resources. It's really maximized it for Highland. It provides the community with expanded access to materials and services far beyond our local collection. Our local collection stands at about 43,000 right now. As you can see, TLC offers over 200,000 items in their shared catalog with American Fork, Pleasant Grove, and Highland. That increases our collection by 400%. It provides convenience and is time-saving for people who come to pick up their holds from American Fork and Pleasant Grove. It's been really an exceptional return on investment, I think, for this community. I want to touch on our efficiency. TLC has increased our workload by about 40 hours. This includes things like staff pulling holds, processing them, lots of additional customer service and support to people from Highland, and getting phone calls from American Fork and Pleasant Grove. It includes delivery driving and other tasks. Prior to the addition of TLC, there was a lot of behind the work scenes. Every library has it, where staff are constantly working, even though it doesn't seem like it. If we have fewer patrons coming in during a slower hour, staff are working on projects. They're preparing for upcoming programs like story time and events. They're repairing books. They're purchasing books and weeding books. But back to TLC, I don't believe people really knew how popular this service was going to be, and I don't think we accounted for it in future growth and budget. Someone asked me, is this something we need? Is it needed? I would say, based on my recommendation of the community's usage of it, I would say yes. Again, based on community's response and how much they use it. Of course, there are alternate solutions, right? We have alternatives. If we are not fully funded through an increase, we've discussed the notion of cutting hours. American Fork cut their library hours this last year by 4 hours, from 64 hours down to 60 per week. We currently operate at 50 hours per week. We looked at reducing our hours by 4, so I just use Saturday as an example because it's easy. It's 4 hours, a 4-hour block. If we close Saturdays for a year, that saves us such minimal amount, and it has, I think, a greater negative impact on the community, the people who come in on Saturdays. We looked at, well, what if we eliminate TLC? We are 1 year into it now. It would be honestly costly for us to pay back the monies to disentangle our records from the other 2 libraries. When you merge records, each record in a catalog is paid for. When a patron pulls up, hey, I want to look for this book, that data set is paid for. So it ranges between 50 cents to maybe $3 per record. We would have to find a way to disentangle those records. Highland residents would no longer be able to use American Fork or Pleasant Grove libraries without paying a non-resident fee, which is currently at $90 a year. We looked at the possibility of reducing current programs like Storytime. Storytime runs 3 days a week. We could run it maybe 1 day a week. We looked at eliminating or reducing Libby access. All of these are alternatives that are possible that I wanted to be transparent about, that I think it's important for us to acknowledge there are many options.
I have another question. May I?
Go ahead.
So I have a lot of people that love Libby, right? And when you say limit Libby, because I don't want to limit the close on Saturday. I don't think that's the pick. And I don't want to close TLC, right? And we don't want to close Storytime for those people that come. But on Libby, do we restrict, or can we restrict, like every time, like I said before, every time you click on it, you know, they're charged, we're charged, correct?
We are charged when they open
Can you
it.
say you get one shot at this, which isn't it 2 weeks? I can't remember what it is, Karen.
It's 21 days.
21 days,
Yes.
3 weeks. So can we restrict that?
So because we are a part of Beehive Library Consortium, which is run through the state library,
Okay.
we are in agreement with the group. And so the group actually just met a few weeks ago, and they discussed the possibility of limiting. It's such a great question. If we could, for instance, limit holds instead of like 10 holds, limiting down to 9. And what does that do? The impact for all the communities across the state. It increases wait times exponentially. They ran some formulas and calculations. Those are things that the entire state is looking at, because this is not just a Highland problem. It's
Right, it's a
everyone.
statewide, yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
Libby
It's a
is an
nationwide, really.
endless pit, as you know. And so if we stay in the Beehive Library Consortium, again, because they are able to fully fund Libby, it gives us full access to all of Libby. And those licenses, as you know, are quite costly to libraries. For the general public, the licensing of these books, the library essentially has to rent a book. We no longer own a copy of a digital book. And not only that, they have multiple models where if we rent the book, they may have metered access and only give you 100 reads or checkouts, so to speak. And so we purchase, let's say, a Stephen King book for over $200, and it comes with metered access of 100 uses. It's gone, and that means we have to repurchase it if we want to continue to have access, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So it's a great question, and in order to stay in the Beehive Library Consortium and have full access to Libby, we have to abide by what the
By
group
that.
decides.
I just am so last month I read 5 books. 2 of those were on Audible, okay? So I didn't really read 2 of them, but 3 I did. So I'm just really finding it difficult that somebody can't listen to a book in 3 weeks.
So,
And I'm busy. I'm really busy, sorry.
yeah, no, let's save our comments. We'll have time to get to those. Let's finish the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. So this evening, I've presented to you data that I think is fantastic. I think we should be proud of Highland and the library. I think it really is such a gem in the heart of the community. We've presented data that the library is incredibly well used, and like Councilmember Rice said, it is very well loved. I wanted to end with these photos of people attending library programs in the last 8 months since I've been here. So what you see is Highland Senior Social Hub, which is currently grant funded. We see Tween Club and Teen Advisory Board, and we see our very popular Wizarding School and Storytime. And I wanted to end with that because I want to remind us, a library isn't just a building with books. It's not just a gateway to information. It's a community space for people. Every day, residents come through the library. I see people who love sports, people who play board games, people who are young or elderly, people who have special needs or disabilities, people who are homeschooled. I see business people. I see people who are looking for jobs. I see local authors. I see famous authors. I see people from all walks of life who come to the library. I encourage and recommend that this library be fully funded. For less than $29 a year, less than the cost of one single hardback book, Highland can invest and ensure that this library remains the heart of this community for the next 18 years and beyond.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. We appreciate your dedication to the library. You do such a fantastic job. Thank you. Erin, we'll let you continue.
At this point, Madam Mayor, I'd say if you want to have any conversations about the library, I'd say now is the time to do it. From here on out, my intention was to walk you through the resolutions that need to be approved before we get to the tentative budget.
Okay, let's go ahead and start with you, Mr. Courtney. Do you have any comments about the library?
I don't believe that I have any comments about the library that haven't already been made.
Okay, Councilmember Campbell.
Coming into the role a couple of years ago on the city council, I had a lot to learn. I had been on the planning commission for a number of years, and as a commissioner, I felt like I'm prepared for city council. Well, yeah, I was about 5% prepared, maybe 10% at the most. Development code is important, and it's a big part of our role, but the single greatest awakening that I had was the library. Literally, it was the library. I would have been asked, and I have a history with books, distributing books to developing countries all over the world through the LDS humanitarian effort. I set that up and was doing that. And books are always important, but I thought, libraries, what's the future? What's really the future? And then I learned about the Highland City Library for the first couple of months in this role, and I'm blown away. It is the hub of the community. It is the center of so much activity with kids and with adults and programs. It's not just books. And it was just an awakening that I'm so grateful that I learned about the library. I don't have young kids. I mean, at my age, I took my kids to the library when they were little, but that was 30, 40 years ago. Well, actually 50 years ago. So yes, I'm that old. But the bottom line is I could not support the library more than I do. Now, having said that, we have a process that we have to go through. And we will listen to the public. And public hearings are a big part of this process. So at this point, I can say that I'm very encouraged, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to support the library, but we need to go through that process. We need to hear all sides of the issue, and then we need to make a decision. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Rice.
So I wondered if you could put that revenue breakdown of the library back up, who's ever managing that switch. Because I just have a couple of, and I just want to reiterate that this is a process of what's required by the state of Utah. Your legislature required this, right? It's a pie chart I'm looking for. I have it on my screen. How can I have it on my screen? Mine's not working, but I have it on my screen. There you go. There we go. So this is really kind of last year's. So that 417,000, is that still 5% of that purple area? The 400,
No, because the 417,000 is not in the current budget.
It's not in the current budget, so it's a lot more than 5%.
Or sorry, it's not in the budget that we're talking about as a tentative budget either.
Okay, so, but that's a lot more than 5%, is it not?
It would be if it were in the budget, but it's not in there.
It's not, okay.
I was debating which year to use, and I decided to use last year's just because we were talking about a tax increase and that would change this pie, and I wanted to illustrate something different.
Because I kind of wish we could see the pie for this
year.
Yeah,
and I can absolutely provide that for you.
It's okay. I think it might be necessary. But
the tax would increase. That 71% would go up because we're talking about a tax increase, and so the rest of those would go down. And to your question, the transfer from general fund would go away.
would go away completely. But right now, from what I'm understanding, that 417,000 is going to stay in the general fund.
Yes.
That's what I've been telling people.
Yep.
Okay, so I
So the
want to make
feedback
sure
we
that
got
I'm
from
not there.
the council was, when we talked about that, because originally we talked, do we do both? Do we do one? What do we do? The feedback I got from some members of the council, the majority, was the 417 is one time. Let's look at something more long-term, number one. Number two, that's a lot of money to take out of the general fund all at once, and they were uncomfortable with that, leaving our general fund
Erin,
susceptible.
Would you mind, just for the people who are here, talking about what that 417
Yes.
is so that
Sorry.
people understand? Thank you.
That was actually my next question.
In 2000, what did we say, 7, when the tax was established? 9, 7. We set up, the library was still part of the general fund, and we were collecting property taxes and making sure that the library had property tax, like they could spend at least that in their revenue plus their fines. However, a council member along the way, council member Ed Dennis, helped us realize that there's something called motor vehicle fuel tax, motor vehicle tax. That whenever you go to register your vehicle, part of the taxes, it's a property tax you pay on your vehicle that goes to the county, who then distributes it out to the cities based on our tax rate. The city as a whole was not attributing that amount to the library, just out of ignorance. But if you have a dedicated library tax, you have to also attribute that to them. And so when we look at, when Councilmember Dennis helped us understand that, we separated the library out. That's why it has its own fund now, so we can make sure to track those separately, and we started providing that to them. But when you look at what the library fund should have gotten, it adds up to about $417,000. So we have paid that back a little bit, the $20,000 in the current budget year we are in, but there's $417 remaining at this point.
Minus the 13,000, no, excuse me, that's right, 417 minus 13.
There's no legal requirement for the city to give that to the library. It's a policy decision of how council wants to manage that money.
But right now, we're not going to do that, is that correct? But
That-
a new council or next year's council could do that.
Yep.
If so- if-
As you continue on this process, you could change your mind.
If the
but-
tax increase is not enough.
Correct. The budget that you're looking at right now doesn't have that.
And then on that same pie chart, Erin, or Karen, whoever, and by the way, Karen, it's a great presentation. Really, I appreciate that a lot.
Thank you.
So I do. So the $80,000 in reserves, where would that be on that pie chart?
It wouldn't be, oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead, sorry. I
No,
beg your
I'm
pardon. Go
cutting
ahead.
you off. That's rude. I apologize.
No, go ahead. You're good.
It would not be shown on here because we do not plan to use any prior year revenue. Let's see.
It would be
For this
partially
one,
on here because of the interest income, I think, but that's the only place it would show up.
On which side, Doug? I'm sorry?
On that pie chart, the
Interest
interest
income
income comes from that.
well, it comes
Reserve,
as a
doesn't it?
result of it, but it's not using the fund
okay.
balance.
That's the only place that.
Yeah.
And then the $50,000 in the foundation, that's not on here either, correct?
Correct. Since that is outside of city control, we don't show that.
Okay, all right.
If
So,
we, just real quick about if we were to get money from the foundation in a given year, it would show up as a grant.
It would.
Is that
yep.
where it would?
That's where we would
It
code
would
it
show
to,
up
is
as a
that grant line item.
okay, in the
And the
grants.
foundation funds are supposed to be for capital, so they can't be
Right.
used for.
I knew that. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't on here.
Yep, it's not
So-
shown, nor is the fund
okay.
balance. You're right.
So, and then, so I really appreciate the photos. The story time isn't just story time, it's a little puppet show. That was pretty darn cute. In the ratings that they showed on the different ones from all over the nation or the state, and that's not on the pie chart, but AF and PG weren't there. Did I misread that? American Fork and PG, I mean, it was like,
They wouldn't be in our peer group.
they're not in our
They're
peer
not in
group?
our peer group, but you can
Okay.
find the comparison and I can pull
On
that for you.
On that website, okay, I was just curious, so, and you kind of, Karen, and this is kind of a Karen question, sorry, but how did AF Library then cut back hours? You kind of covered this and then still be certified, so they're still certified, so what you said, we can only cut back 4 hours, is that correct?
No.
And still be certified?
So the state requirements have a specific number of operational hours which we meet. Even if we were to cut those 4 hours, we already meet their criteria. American Fork meets it, and they are open 60
They're
hours.
still certified and
Yep.
everything, yeah, okay, all right. No, I appreciate all of that. I just had those questions, there's some people watching from home, and they sent me some questions to ask, so, thank you.
Absolutely.
Is that all for, okay, Councilmember Rodella.
I'll just be quick in this because I'm excited to hear what Scott has to say. He has some great information to present, but the library, I was served on the library board, and I think, you know, looking at the members of council that have served on the library board, we have an understanding of how beneficial it is to our community. The financial breakout of certain revenue and expenditure streams, and really what situation we're faced with right now. So for me, I love the library. I feel like it is what embodies Highland City. It is what brings us together as a community. It's not just about books. It's about our residents and our families and our values here. So I'm definitely supporting this, especially when you look at how the tax breakout is and inflation rates over time. We're really working at a deficit. And so when you look at that breakout, it just shows the dire need for the library and in order to increase its revenue stream.
Madam Mayor, I had one more thing to say before we get to Councilman Smith, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I was on the Planning Commission from 2008, I think, to 2012, and I was part of, you know, when the library was established. So I wasn't on the library board. I have never been on the library board, but that doesn't mean I don't support the library. And by my donations, I think that has shown. So now I'm done.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith.
Okay. So I have to kind of smile a little bit. As many years as I've been on the council, we've actually had more discussion about the library budget than any other department in the city. And it's 2% of our budget. And I'm not sure why it's been such an emotional thing for us. But I've been on the council off and on for the last 20 years. And I want to tell you a little bit about my experience with the library. I was on the library board for 8 years. And I've served with the Friends of the American Fork Library for 30 years. I'm currently the treasurer down there, and I meet with the staff at the library once a month, and I help promote the TLC, the consortium from the American Fork side. Because if you look at it from American Fork side, they've got a big library. And years ago, I helped design that library. I've been involved there for 30 years, and I'm proud of that library, and I'm proud to be a supporter of that library. But if you look from the American Forks Library side, they would say, why should we include Highland? They don't have the resources, they don't have the books and different things. So it's been a great opportunity for us to be associated with Pleasant Grove and American Fork. And as Karen aptly showed, it's increased our circulation and the things that are available for the citizens of Highland greatly. And I support it 100%. So I want to talk a little bit about Claudia Stillman and Catherine Schramm were both on the council. I'm sorry I said that wrong, Catherine. It just didn't come right out. So sometimes when I get a little nervous, things don't. But they were both on the council when the certified tax for the library was passed. And that's the last tax increase actually in the property tax in the city, almost 20 years ago. And in 2010, I was on the council with Catherine, and during the recession, we cut the certified tax rate for all the taxes in the city. And the certified tax rate for the library has always been included in the total tax rate. It's about 15%. It's just been the last couple years that Rod Mann, who's the county auditor, separated them out so people could see a little bit better where it went. But we cut the tax so that saved the average homeowner about $60 a year, which if you figure it out was $9 from the library at that time. If you go back and calculate over the last 16 years and with the growth, growth in the city and different things, the library probably didn't receive $610,000. Okay? So let's just kind of think about that. So they've ran this library on a really limited budget. So I'm going to talk about certified tax rate, as Ron was talking about. It took me a while to kind of figure it out on the council. But, you know, as your home values are appraised and they go up, and I was amazed to find out that my home value is less than the average in Highland. I've always been less than average height. So it was disappointing to find I was less than average property value too. But, you know, as your property value goes up in different things, as we tried to explain that, they adjust the CTR rate down. So I thought it'd be fun to see our comparison as Highland with the rest of the communities in the county. And there's big communities like Lehigh and Orem and Provo. There's smaller ones, as small as Fairfield and Cedar Fort. I looked at all their certified tax rates because that's the basis that they tax their citizens. And it was a very fascinating thing to find out. There are only 3 communities out of 25 in the county that have lower certified tax rates than Highland. Now that's pretty amazing, because in 18 months, this city is going to be debt-free. We won't have any more bonds. We're going to be one of the few cities in the state or the nation. So we've done that with the lowest certified tax rate. So how have we done that? A lot of it's because of growth in the city. We've been blessed with growth and a lot of great people. But I wanted to let you know. So I'll tell you the communities that have lower certified tax rates. Cedar Fort, Fairfield, small communities, and one large community, Eagle Mountain. But Eagle Mountain, I understand, is going to increase their certified tax rate by 200%. Is that right, Mayor? 246%. So we'll drop below that because we're only talking about increasing a small amount. So I brought my taxes from last year, and with my less than average household. But it was interesting. If you look at this, and I think a lot of people don't really take time to study it, but I paid $47.21 for a charter school in Alpine. Okay, I believe in education and the school district and things, but I paid $2,931.17 to the school district. The city of Highland, because we only get 8.2% plus the library tax, so it goes up to 9.2% of all the property tax comes to Highland. Just 9.2%. When I was first on the council, it was 16.8%. So everybody else has raised their tax. But I paid $326 $326.42 to the city in property tax and $49.24 for the library. So I think we need to just kind of stop and ask ourselves what's important. You know, I look at, there are things in the city that we do that instills a sense of community. So we've spent a lot of effort and time building the Highland Family Park. And we did it without raising property taxes. We did it without bonding. We did it with donations. And we did it with selling some property and some grants and different things. But that's pretty amazing, because that park cost us over $10 million. And it's a beautiful addition. But it's well used, and it installs a sense of community. But one of the most important things, I think, as a library, and why do I support libraries? I have kind of my own personal library, so I don't come and check a lot of books out of here, but I'm 100% of the library. It supports families, and it really supports people of lesser income or people with small children who have lesser income. I mean, it really does help them. Story time and all the children's books. I fought pretty hard to get this children's library, and there were a lot of what we called the troubles time in the library, and we know it was a lot of work to do it, but it's benefited so many people. It benefits the elderly. We have the new senior programs. A lot of people would like a senior center, see if I can talk that, in Highland, but we don't have the funds to do that, but we're providing it through the library. So my feeling is, as I support this certified tax increase, it's a small amount. It's 53% of 1.2%. So what would mine go up if the other things stay the same? I would pay 1.8% to the library, which brings so much benefit. Now, people need to realize Alpine's wanted a library bad, and they've been buying cards to our library, but they've now established a library in Alpine as of September. So they think a library is important, and so do these other communities. Lehigh and Saratoga Springs just built great big new libraries, and Eagle Mountain's in that process. So libraries play a very important role. So I have people text me and say, libraries are dinosaurs. I don't think so. Libraries are evolving, unlike the dinosaurs. They provide a lot of other services now that is going to change with time, but I think they're an important part of the city. And I sit here in City Council every week and just watch a constant stream of people going in and out of the library. So I support it. I think it's just a tiny bit when you think about it. I don't like raising property taxes. I've worked hard to get this city out of debt. I've worked hard to keep our taxes low. But this is a program that well needs some more support. And I appreciate our staff and Donna and everyone that's worked for so many years. I appreciate the Friends of the Library. I appreciate the people that work in the foundation. But these are people that are committed to improving our city. And so I'm going to vote for this, and I'm going to tell that right now.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, if there's no more questions, I'm going to start walking you through the different action items that we need to take on this, members of the council. So the first one is we have to have a separate item that says we are going to make a statement in the meeting that the budget in front of the council includes a property tax increase. And if you'll go to the next slide for me, I am going to read verbatim what was included on the agenda and in the packet. The city is considering levying a tax increase for its dedicated library property tax that exceeds the dedicated tax's current certified tax rate, resulting in a property tax increase. The approximate dollar amount of the increase is $171,600, thank you, and is intended to fund library operations. The approximate percentage increase in tax revenue is 53.81%. Again, that's just the library portion. If the city proceeds with the property tax rate, the city will provide notice and conduct a public hearing on August 11, 2026 at 6:00 p.m. at Highland City Hall, where members will have an opportunity to comment on the proposed tax rate increase. One thing I do want to note, there was an error in the staff report. We are required to show, in the resolutions, you'll see the average increase for a resident, right? The 2865 we've talked about, as well as the average, or the increase for an average business. That was incorrectly stated in the staff report as 2865. That actually for a business would be 9197 per year. But it is correct in your resolution, and so you're fine to act on the resolution. We did make some tweaks just for clarification purposes, but you're fine to act on the resolution as is presented to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion or do we need discussion?
I move that the Highland City Council adopt the resolution stating the city's intent, make a statement to increase property tax revenue, and set a hearing date for the Truth in Taxation hearing of August 11th, 2026.
I'll second it.
And my only addition to that would be to put the open house in. Is that inappropriate?
I think as long as we leave August 11th in there, we could include the open house as well. Absolutely.
I would like to do that. So I'm
I'll
going to
second
amend
that
my
as well.
own resolution to say the Truth in Taxation hearing of August 11th, 2026, and also the library open house, Truth in Taxation open house in May 2026.
Any concerns, guys? I'm saying no. Okay, great. Sounds great.
Perfect. So,
all right.
Scott seconded?
yes, we had a motion by Councilmember
Is
Rice,
this-
a second by Councilmember Smith.
Jay, is this one of the resolutions that you sent an updated copy and email?
It was updated with the combined
I just wanted to make sure
tax
that,
rate.
we are, am I correct in thinking that we are talking about the updated copy that was sent in email rather than the copy that was included in the agenda packet?
Yes, and I did not state that clearly, but an updated, and all the update did was to include the combined rate when you looked at both the city and library together.
Do you mind refreshing one more time?
Okay, so we're ready for a vote on that.
Again, just to clear, with regard to the motion, is that the intent that is the copy that was distributed in email versus instead of the one that came out in the agenda packet?
Do you want me to add that to that, Madam Mayor? I mean,
I think that as long as we make it clear what we're talking about, the motion's probably okay. Is that
Correct. And also, the resolutions were not really substantively changed. It was more just adding some extra clarification. So we just want to make sure you saw that ahead of the council meeting. So when that finally gets adopted, you had the chance to look it over. But nothing substantively changed in it. So you're good to go ahead with the vote.
It looks like we're doing a voice vote.
Looks like
Except
we're
something-
going to do a voice vote. We'll start down with Councilmember Rice.
yes.
Councilmember Campbell.
Yes.
Councilmember Courtney.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Odella.
Yes.
Perfect. On to item B.
Wait, I have a quick question with that motion. So when we voted on that motion, does that mean that we are unanimous as a council in wanting to approve this property tax increase for the library, or just that we are unanimous in doing the truth and taxation?
Just,
The statement of
yeah, it's a
intent.
statement of intent that we are considering.
And now we get to actually make that statement. Again, I need to read this, and I apologize. If you'll go to the next slide for me, I can read from there. Resolution of the Highland City Council, Highland, Utah, stating the tentative budget for fiscal year 2026-2027 includes a proposed tax rate increase. Whereas Highland City currently collects property tax for the Highland City Library to fund a majority of the cost of operations. And whereas the Highland City Council desires to continue to provide excellent service and materials to the Highland community. And whereas an increase in property tax for the dedicated library property tax is proposed in the Highland City tentative budget for fiscal year 2026-2027. And whereas the council desires to comply with the requirements of Utah Code 59-2, known as the Property Tax Act. Now therefore be it resolved by the Highland City Council as follows. Number one, we announce to the public that the Highland City tentative budget for fiscal year 2026-2027 includes a proposed property tax increase for the dedicated library property tax only. Number two, the proposed estimated tax rate of 0.000149 exceeds the dedicated library property tax's current fiscal year certified tax rate of 0.000097. The city's new proposed total tax rate.
It doesn't
Yes.
add up.
Nope, we're good.
Does it?
Exceeds, yes.
Okay.
Now I'm talking about the total rate. 0.000792 exceeds the current total certified tax rate of 0.000740.
And that's the whole city.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, guys, there's a lot of numbers, and we're not done yet.
These red sections are what was added this morning.
Okay. The date for a truth and taxation public hearing regarding this proposal tax increase is set for August 11th, 2026 at 6:00 p.m. at Highland City Hall. Members of the public will have an opportunity to comment on the proposed tax rate at this meeting. Number four, the approximate dollar amount of this property tax increase is $171,600, which is an increase of approximately 53%, which is a 7.56% increase of the total city property tax revenue. These additional funds are intended to allow the library department, the library, to convert a part-time position to a full-time position and to hire a part-time position. Both staffing changes will help the library to manage workload in the department with programming demands as well as time needed to participate in the Timpanogos Library Consortium. The library also intends to use $10,000 of this new funding to pay for the Libby audio ebook service, for which state funding was removed in the 2026 fiscal year. Finally, the library intends to use this new funding to continue senior citizen programming activities that have previously been grant funded. Number 6, the city administrator will send notice to the county auditor, and we will change that to shall send notice to the county auditor and tax commission by June 1st as required by statute. The city recorder, under the supervision of the city administrator and city attorney, may make non-substantive corrections to any portion of this resolution and to the city codes referenced herein for grammatical, typographical, numbering, and consistency purposes in accordance with the expressed intent of the city council. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
Should that say that the budget manager, budget director, what is that term?
Budget officer
The budget officer?
will or shall send notice to the county auditor and
I
tax
would
commission.
think that would tie better to the
I think
intent
that-
of the law.
Yep,
And
I
then,
think you're
Aaron,
right.
on number 3, if you'll go back, we really do need to add there the open house, because I want to prove to the state that we have done our due diligence on that.
Absolutely. So if you'll go
That was
in
number
back
3.
on number 6, we'll say the budget officer, and then on number 3, will you go back one slide for us, Jay? We'll say so we'll continue that and say the date for a public open house is set for Wednesday, May 13th, 2026, from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. at Highland City Hall.
Very good.
15th, May 15th.
Dang it, 15th.
The more you say it.
I'm close. I got the number right this time. Okay,
Is that all?
I think so.
Perfect, then we're ready for a motion.
It's next Wednesday? That is the 13th.
It's the 13th.
It is the 13th.
My calendar was on April. That
They're testing me.
It is May
everybody can
13th.
flog me after the meeting.
So I'll make this motion. I move that the Highland City Council adopt the resolution stating the city's intent to increase property tax revenue and set a hearing date for the Truth and Taxation hearing of August 11, 2026, as well as a public open house on Wednesday, May 13th between...
I'll second that.
Oh, I haven't said, okay.
You're good.
Well, almost got done. Okay, that's fine.
I thought you were done.
Did you get that? You good? Okay, and are we voice voting on this one as well?
Yeah.
We'll start with you, Councilmember Campbell.
Yes.
Councilmember Courtney.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Rodella.
Yes.
Councilmember Rice.
Yes.
Do you have a question? Yes.
Liz said,
Liz.
Yeah, Liz.
I think exiting for the video must have broken our electronic voting, so I apologize about that. We might be that way the rest of the night.
That's okay,
unless we
makes
take
it
a
more
break.
fun.
All right. More to think about. Okay, impact schedule. I'm going to summarize what the impact schedule looks like, has in it content-wise. We've talked about all of this, but if you'll go to the next slide, I'm just going to high-level summarize it. So this is attached to the resolution, included as Exhibit A, and it goes through the proposed property tax rate, so from 0.000097 to 0.000149 to generate an additional $171,600. And so the increases you can see there of the revenue without the change, with the change, which again is a 53.18% increase. For the average Highland home, it will be an additional $28.65 per year. For an average business, it would be $91.97 per year. Again, a 53.18% increase. Next slide, please. Oh, that got blurry. So this all affects the library budget. You can see their budget without the tax change and with the tax change, and the impact goes to what we've already talked about in terms of the staffing, the e-books, and the programming, specifically for general programming as well as senior citizens programming. And that would be the impact for this tax increase. And I think that's everything I need to say on that one. Oh, no. This would leave about $12,000 if, if those of you have looked ahead to what the budget of the library looks like. It leaves about $12,000 revenue over expenses. That was, we ended up with that number. What that number would do is essentially allow some inflationary adjustments that are going to inevitably happen in a future fiscal year. So the hope is that this tax increase would take care of the library this current fiscal year, or the fiscal year we're talking about, fiscal year 27, as well as fiscal year 28. And that's what the $12,000 would be.
Aaron, can I make a little comment on that?
Please.
The thing is our property tax does grow with growth. So we're estimating. So there may be more in the growth, because we always underestimate property tax and sales tax. Property tax, not so much, but
I was
sales
going to say
tax.
we're closer on property,
Yeah.
but sales we usually underestimate.
But there could
on.
be a little more. It's hard to predict.
Absolutely. So it's a prediction. It's moving. We've talked about a few different numbers, as you already know, right, from the past few meetings. So this is the number that is currently in the budget, but of course, council is welcome to change that as it is your budget.
Thanks, Aaron.
One question about that 12,000 that you mentioned. We believe that under the requirements of truth and taxation and explaining what we're using it for, that it's sufficient what we have written here, and that we don't need to include something about that. Correct?
Correct. Mostly because we are covering these expenses now and also next year and the year after that. And we just know that the exact same things we're funding now with it will cost more in the future.
Cool, thank you.
So we won't go through this again in 2027, is that correct? Promise?
depend-
He's laughing at me.
That's a council decision.
Okay, are we ready for a motion on this
think
item?
we are.
Want to
We're
advance? Perfect.
I move that the Highland City Council adopt the resolution property tax impact schedule.
Second.
Okay, that was a motion by Councilmember Rice and a second by Councilmember Campbell,
It was.
vice versa. Councilmember Campbell and Councilmember Rice. And let's start with Councilwoman Rodella, because I forgot where I'm at.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Courtney.
Yes.
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 Perfect, 5-0. Okay, and we appreciate the public waiting. We have one more presentation, and then we'll open up our public hearing.
Yep, and so now we talk about something besides the library, the other 98% of our budget. So let's talk about that.
98.5% of it.
Yeah, absolutely, 98.5. So,
But the other 98.5 is not getting a tax increase.
You're right.
That's the difference.
That's the difference, and that's why we go through the state requires it, and we should, right? When we're talking about tax dollars, we need to be very transparent. We talked about this already, but we are essentially in the middle of a very long process for the budget, right? We started back in February, have had a number of work sessions and individual meetings. We are currently at our first public hearing for the tentative budget. We have our city open house next week that we hope lots and lots of people come to. You should get a postcard this week if you haven't already about that. And then we have a public hearing again, if the council continues to move forward considering a tax increase, we will adopt an interim budget in June. The intention would be we would have some public information meetings in June, July timeframe ahead of another, the final truth and taxation hearing and the final budget consideration on August 11th that we've talked about. So we are nowhere near done with this decision, and you get to hear from the public lots on this, council. So keeping on, let's talk about revenue. So in the budget, we have projected a 3% growth in property and sales tax. So property we feel pretty good about. Sales tax we tend to underestimate, but honestly with the uncertainty with gas prices and the war and everything else, we felt like that was a appropriate number. One big thing with this budget is a reimbursement from Lone Peak from excess assessments paid to the district over time. It's ultimately the formula of how we get the $264,000 ties to the new fire department formula that we've instituted this year, but it is a reimbursement from our previous assessments owed. That is one-time money that is great to use for one-time projects or put into our fund balance. This budget plans on just putting it into fund balance at this moment.
And could I just clarify that the excess assessments were not that we were assessed something and we paid more by mistake. It's simply that they controlled costs and ended up with a growing balance and are now returning some of that balance to the cities.
Thank you for that clarification. Good news. While we're talking about a tax increase, we're not talking about any fee or utility increases. We are in the middle of starting to facility plans, which will lead to discussions about our rates, but I feel like our funds are in a healthy position right now, our enterprise funds. So we are, like I said, we're looking at those and just clarify or double checking that, but I feel like they're in a good place. So. And then, as we've talked about a lot, property tax proposal to increase for the dedicated library tax.
And when you say the reimbursement, just so you explain that to the,
of course,
to the people, that's explain who that's being reimbursed to. I understand, but I'll let you.
Oh no, absolutely. It's a lot of money, right? So Lone Peak, in case people aren't aware, Lone Peak Public Safety District is composed of Highland and Alpine cities, and it provides fire and police services to both of those communities. It is a majority of the funding comes from assessments that it's not really a district, but we call it a district. The district levies against each of the cities. We then pay into the district. Over the years, we've gotten more revenue than expected from different sources. We have been able to control costs, to Councilmember Courtney's point. And so while we have a fund balance, Lone Peak has a fund balance that's totally separate than ours because they are a separate organization. That fund balance has grown to a point where we feel like it makes sense to refund some of that money back to the cities, and that is what was done this year. For us, it will come back for both cities. Alpine and Highland are both receiving this, but the amount is tied to what we have historically contributed to the fire department. So we are a larger city, and so we do pay more for both the police and fire services. But the formula was recently worked for this last fiscal year so that we are still paying more than Alpine, but we are paying less than we historically have been because our council felt that it was not fair and that rate needed to be renegotiated. Fair? Okay. All right, let's talk about expenses. So some of the highlights of things that are in this budget. So we have improvements to Beacon Hills Park, to Highland Glen Bike Park, some continued support there. And then we have money in the budget for 2 other parks, playgrounds and or other general park improvements in this budget. A lieutenant position is added to the police department budget, which ultimately you don't see directly in this budget, but you see the police assessment going from this.
Excuse me, on Beacon Hills, does that include the twin bridges? Which I don't understand why that's called twin bridges, by the way.
Because there are 2, actually there's 2, right? There's a second entrance somewhere. Mm-hmm.
Okay, anyway, is that because that needs to be redone, and there's some money that apparently the residents have put together. Will that tie into
It won't come out of the Beacon Hills Park money, so I believe we budgeted Beacon Hills for a pavilion addition. Wasn't that correct, Chris?
Yeah. That's just the pavilion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Twin Bridges entrance that you're talking about, it's a great project that a nearby resident is organizing. So it'll be private funds that are actually being donated through the foundation right now that will come into Highland City. We haven't accounted for it, but it will be a money in, money out kind of a thing. So
we'll not have to subsidize that at all.
No.
Okay.
When we talked to Mr. Watterson about it, we agreed to help with the labor. So we're going to help pull out what is existing, but they are paying for the entire cost of installation.
Right, and last, what I heard from the Secretary of the Highland City Foundation, there's over $40,000 that have been donated for the new bridge.
It's impressive what they've done, and appreciate when residents step up and say, we'll do it, so. As Councilmember Smith pointed out earlier, this budget includes the city's final payment for the building bond, and then next year will be our final payment on the parks bond, so we're getting very close there. This budget does include increased security at some of our city facilities. So this also includes our city infrastructure, thinking like sewer lift stations, as well as our public-facing facilities. And those projects are capital in nature in that they will come back to council for final approval. It includes one of the priorities that council told us is we want to spend more money on traffic calming, and we hear a lot from residents who want some traffic calming done. So this budget does include increased funds for that. It also does, when we talk about personnel, so there are additional funds and personnel for community events. It would be similar to the library where one of our part-time community events lead would be transitioning to a full-time position, as well as some additional funding to help take our events to the next level. And a conversion of, we have currently a part-time code compliance officer. It would be transitioning that position to a full-time planner tech. They will still do code compliance, but they will also do some entry-level planning work for us as well, so that the planning/attorney's office department of one will expand a little bit, and we will have some additional help there. Okay. Any questions about expenses or revenues generally, I guess? There's one topic in particular I wanted to talk about that I know has become a topic of community conversation. So I did some research to get a little bit of background, talked to some folks, dug through minutes. Let's talk about the pressurized irrigation or PI transfer. Currently in the budget, what happens, and this was started in 2015, so we, as part of the audit that we have to undergo every year, the audit told us, you need to start charging, the general fund needs to start paying for the water that it is using to water parks, right? You need to show that cost. That was something that, at that time, John Dougal, a resident of Highland, was the state auditor at the time, and that's something he encouraged us to do. You've got to show that, that cost. From there, so required for transparency to show those. But there's no requirement that it has to be paid for that. It just needs to be shown that that is happening. And so the city showed that, but then it also showed a transfer back from PI to the general fund for that same dollar amount. The dollar amounts changed over the years as we've added additional park space, but that happened, from 2015 to 2017. And essentially what that means is that parks are paid to be watered by our general PI fees. So the monthly bill that residents pay for PI, it helps to pay for watering our parks as well, for delivering water, I should say, to the parks. In 2017 and 2018, we had, some of the council people, the mayor and council at the time, felt that it was more fair to have the general fund pay for that than for PI to pay for that. So for 2 years, the city budget did not include the transfer back. It always included that transfer to the PI fund, but did not include the transfer back. And then in 2019, we got a different mayor and city council in different directions. Staff got different direction. And so from 2019 on, we have had the transfer back where PI is coming again back into the general fund. I know that can be confusing. Do we kind of have a grasp on that one?
So can I ask a question?
Please.
To me, this has always been kind of an accounting thing, because we've debated back and forth, because the question has to be, if you pay for watering the parks, the general fund, that comes from property tax, sales tax, and some other fees and things. And then you pay the PI fund, and we've just been kind of saying it back, but if it comes out of the PI fund, totally, it's always been confusing to me. So if we send it back, then basically the residents are also paying for the parks out of the irrigation fees. Is that the concern?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the concern, but that's the reason that we were told in 2015 to do it was because of transparency, right? If the residents have to pay for PI, it's only fair to show that the city also has, what is the city's cost for that? And so that was the concern, and the accounting fund, right, back and forth. It really is a policy decision up to the council. Do you think that it is more fair for our PI users, which are not always residents, right? You have churches, you have schools, Is it more fair for PI users to pay for watering the parks, or is it more fair for general fund monies, right, property tax, sales tax, to pay for that cost? It's entirely a policy decision as to what you want to do there.
So I have a question on that. So are schools and churches in with the, repeat that one more time?
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
whereas schools and churches don't pay property taxes, right? So we don't get general fund money from them, but we get PI fund money from them. Because if they don't have a well, right, some of our schools do have wells, but if they don't have a well, they are a PI user, and so they are paying into a PI, which ultimately, because we don't really charge the city for the parks watering, they're helping to pay for that.
Do we know which schools and which churches, or that's a hard, never mind.
That's a
I'll
hard
ask that
question.
later. I'll ask that later. Go ahead, sorry.
We'll look into who has wells. I know that some of them do, but I'm not
I
sure.
just would like to know how many churches and how many schools that, I mean, I think they should pay their fare unless they have a well, like you said. But I don't think we should fund those because we already pay so much money in taxes to the school, right?
Yeah, the schools don't pay any taxes to us because they're exempt.
Okay, that's just, all right, I'm sorry to take
It's an
time on that.
interesting
By
question, though.
including
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, including it in the fee, they do end up paying it.
Right.
If it's part of a property tax, they don't. So to me, it's fair to say this is a PI fund, and the residents and the schools and the businesses pay into that fund, and they're going to pay for all the PI needs of the city. To me, that makes sense. Now, could I argue it the other way? Yes, I could. It could say, well, wait, I'm just using the water that's coming in, and yet I'm paying. Well, you're part of a community. So, yes, I believe we're on the right track. I wish there were a way that we could pay it from the PI fund and not have to pay it from the GI, from the general fund, and then transfer money back and forth. I like Scott, it's like, it makes it confusing. But once I understand it, and I think it's the right thing to do.
Councilmember Courtney, what do you think?
May I say one more thing? If we're talking about this generally, can you go to the next slide for me? One thing I want to make clear is we've learned that, so what we're doing, we're compliant, right, with state law, with auditing practices. We actually confirmed with the state auditor today as we were trying to gather this history, make sure we understood. But that does require specific noticing requirements, of which we've recently learned we are hitting some of them and not all of them. And again, it was out of ignorance, we did not realize. So, for example, we have to publish it in the newsletter, and we've been really good at that, but you have to have some accounting statements on your website and turned into the state, and we had never been audited or found that we were negligent in doing that. So we've learned we need to do that, and if council wants to continue doing this, we will get into compliance that way.
So what notifications do you have to give that the PI fund is paying for city parks?
So if you remember, we have to do an extra public hearing at the June meeting that this happens, and we have to publish it in the newsletter afterwards, and then there are some reports with the state we're supposed to file, and some special things we have to include. I know it's at least on the website. I can't remember the details, and Councilmember Courtney and I have been having the conversations. Maybe he does remember more.
I don't remember any of the additional specific, a lot of it is just technical what the specific reports are. And it's not so much reporting that PI is paying to water public parks or anything along those lines. It is any transfer out of an enterprise fund, if I remember correctly, it hits these notification requirements.
We do it for PI. A lot of cities, especially who have power companies, do it. They take money out of their power company and put it in their general fund. But yes, the state law is defined. If you're taking out of an enterprise type fund where it's like its own little business and moving it elsewhere, you have to go through some extra notification to the public to make sure that they feel okay about what you're doing.
So, can I?
Let's make our way around. So Councilmember Courtney, did you have anything else? Questions?
Just two comments. First of all, yes, I view this as a tax on our PI users. We can talk about whether it's a general tax or a dedicated tax, or and I am particularly in the past when it has not had such visibility as this, haven't been particularly fond of that. The second point is that I have been concerned since slightly after I took office and discovered we were doing this about, again, what I view as a quiet tax on residents. And it took a scandalously long 2 years for me to actually go out and look at what state code says about notifications with regard to it. I feel very much as if I have let the residents of Highland down in doing that. And I would like to be on public record as apologizing to the residents for having let them down in this regard. And that's all, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Well, staff has been here for 10 years and hadn't found it, so I think you should feel no shame, Councilmember Courtney. And just like we talked about how Councilmember Dennis helped correct us, I appreciate you for correcting us now.
And just, sorry, to make it clear for residents or anybody who's watching, there are so many specific technical requirements for things in state code, and they change every year. That any time that we're identifying, whether it is here or any other entity in the state, it is like playing a game of whack-a-mole. For fun. With all of the changes happening and all of the rules, this is not indicative of some major failure on the part of city staff. This is the natural end point of having such a huge volume of technical requirements to meet and having them change on a regular basis.
Councilmember Smith, anything to add?
Well, as I said before, I've always thought this was kind of an accounting thing. We've talked back and forth. You've checked with the state auditor and different things, and we're not doing anything illegal. And, you know, in my mind, whoever pays for the water of the park is the citizens, whether it comes out of the pressurized irrigation fund or it comes out of the general fund. But the big difference is if it comes out of the pressurized irrigation fund, some of the entities that don't pay property tax, schools and churches and things, are helping pay for the pressurized irrigation in the parks. And I'm sorry, they use our parks. And I'll tell you one thing that's been really annoying to me is we're kind of trying to conserve water, and there's not been one time that I've driven by Mountain Ridge Junior High that they haven't got all the irrigation system on. So, and it's in the roads too. So we need to kind of work with our partners in the school district to say, hey, we're trying to conserve water. So my feeling is I kind of like the way it is. It's been approved by the state auditor. I understand the concerns. I'll go with the majority on this. But sometimes I think it's kind of like counting the number of angels that can dance on the head of a pin a little bit, you know, because some of this is just auditing stuff and accounting. And, you know, I don't think there's ever been any intention by anybody on any of the councils to be deceptive. And it's just we're trying to figure out auditing procedures and other things like that. So that's kind of my opinion.
Councilmember Rodella?
For me, this is just accounting 101 and just deciding how you want to put it and what line item. Either way, it's being paid for by the residents, but how you want to pay for it on what line item. I'm great with the way it is now, and I'm grateful that, you know, we were able to see that there had to be some specific notification requirements. With all things government, there are requirements for everything, and they are continuously changing day by day. So to be able to find this one and be able to make sure that we check that box, I think is a good thing. But keeping it as is for me the proper way to account for this expenditure.
Thank you. Councilmember Rice.
So, first of all, Doug, I really appreciate you. You coached me, and you're great. You're fine. You know, this PI thing, as we look at it, we don't have to have this in, and this is just kind of, I want it on the record that We don't have to have this in place till 2029, right? Is that right?
Oh, we don't need to begin metering?
Metering, actually
2030, didn't we
charging.
decide? 2030.
2030, actually charging till 2030. And this, to me, is not the year to actually set that. Like, I mean, like right now, Alpine, Cedar Hills has their charts up, and there's a couple of other cities, I don't remember, Chris can tell us better on that, but, and I can't, this PI fund is dangerously close to a tax, in my opinion, which has kind of been said, and I really do, you know, I don't really need to pontificate any more than what the others have already said, because I pretty much agree with what has been said. But I just need the people to understand that the PI thing that's coming, you know, I was told when I moved here, I wouldn't be charged for PI, ever. That was in the year 2000, I believe. And now, here we go. So it's really, and well, I won't get into what I use because I didn't have any idea, and I signed up for our little thing. I'm hoping others do. I can't say that enough on record, and I want people to sign up for that. So when I'm concerned about any tax increase, you know, which will pass, it's the other taxes, I count this as a tax. I do. You don't have to. That is kind of what we are about to enter into, and that's my only concern. So that's really all I had, but that's it. Thank you.
And just to be clear, Erin, we're talking about this transfer, but that is separate from talking about any kind of usage, like per use fee for pressurized irrigation that will come later.
It will.
Via state mandate.
Here in the next month, we feel like we'll be ready to do a work session with you to dive into data and talk about possible rates. But I know many of you have, at least a couple of you have expressed, maybe 2027 is not the year to start. Maybe we wait another year and gather more data. And staff will happily take direction, because we do have until 2030 if we need to wait a little bit longer. I think the more we can educate, to your point, Councilmember Rice, people, the better about this is what you would be paying if you if you continue to water this way. What do we call it?
And I did what I was using last summer, because my meter was in, according to the Alpine chart.
It was scary.
There.
And honestly, as we look at the usage, it's scary how much people are using. So we really want to educate them. Another thing that we're going to do at the open house is have some staff members there to help people sign up if they have not already signed up, and we'll have little handouts they can take if they don't have time to do so that evening. So.
For clarification, the Utah State Supreme Court has ruled that the fees for road fees and for public safety and for the PI fund are not a tax.
Correct. As long as you do them a certain way, right? So the state passed some bills this year.
Based on actual cost, et cetera, et cetera.
So
but if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck,
well,
it's a tax. Sorry.
I see your point. And so they, and they try to distinguish, here's a fee, here's a tax. But we are going to be updating our road fee or going through the study to see if council wants to renew that road fee moving forward to make sure that it would be compliant with the state's definition of a fee. So, or council could consider changing it to a tax. I mean, that's next year's conversation. Let's not muddy the water now. So.
Can I ask a quick question, Mayor? So on this, talking about this transfer, how is it, I don't know how it's presented in the
It is included as we have in the past years, so where the general fund, we are showing what the cost is, the $108,000, and then we are showing that the PI fund is bringing it back to the general fund.
Okay, that's what I understood, so I just wanted to clarify that.
No change from what has happened.
So in the budget that we're passing in just a minute, hopefully, that this is the way it's been.
Yes.
Okay. And certainly things can change between now and the final budget, so.
Absolutely.
Anything else, Erin, on this?
Not on this. Okay, last slide on this budget is just reminding you potential changes to come. We're very close to, we talked about, we do have a 4% increase for staff in the budget, but looking for final, we're very close to getting final numbers for a wage study to see what that looks like. We feel like that should be sufficient, though. Council as well, we promised to look at that when we reduced your retirement here in December, recently. And then cemetery fund, you'll be voting on that later tonight. IT fund, we're just about done with our IT group, but are waiting for a few more numbers. And then actually the certified tax rate, all these numbers we're talking about, they're estimates at this point. We won't get our real number until June. So all of those things planning on changing, but nothing else is planned on changing unless you tell me that you want changes. So,
Okay.
and that's all I have to say.
Thank you. So we're going to have public hearing
Thank
now?
you.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm anxious to hear from the public who has been so patient. So we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. And let's start with the comment cards, and then anybody else is also welcome to comment as well. But let's start with Kevin Tams and Amy Lucas.
So this public hearing's about the budget
This is the
and
budget.
the library and everything?
Yep, the budget,
Okay.
anything related to the budget.
Hi, Council and Mayors. Mayor Kevin Tams. I'm the Vice Chair of the Highland City Library, and I just want to thank you for working with us to find solutions to the problems that we have with the library. My family, we moved in 2009, so it was a year after the library was founded and set up, and we have enjoyed this thoroughly. It's been a blessing to our family. It's been a blessing to our community. You know, one of the things when I got involved is I said, hey, I want to make sure this is built to last. I talked with Stephanie Thacker, who helped establish the library a long time ago, and Scott and all those who worked a long time to get this library. They set up something that was important, that was part of the community, and we have to maintain it. So just like you change the oil on your car, sometimes we have to pay some fees to help things grow and continue to be invested. I just want to call out that this is for the future. This is an investment for the next generation. This is an investment that we're going to leave something to last behind. I just want to applaud the council for taking this forward. And just to my fellow citizens, as you think about this cost, we've gone 18 years without asking for a cent. After 18 years, we can either ask for $1 every year, or we can ask for, $30, $28 at the end of 18 years. And I think the pattern that the council wants, and I hear this tonight, is we should have iterative tax adjustments, and we should do this regularly and get comfortable with this, and we should be transparent with this. But I just want to close and just say I'm so grateful that the council has decided to move this forward. This shows that you see the big picture. I think of Jim Collins, this is built to last. We're going to build something here that didn't just work great for 18 years, but will be for another 100 years. So thank you.
Hey, Kevin, thank you so much for all your work in the library. You guys have been fantastic. You do such great work. You're a big help after the fire and everything. So just thank you.
Thank
and
you.
please pass that along.
Will do.
Thanks. Amy. She left. Then we have Cora and Laura after that. As long as you sat this long, you might as well give us your comment. Welcome. We're so happy to have you. Tell us your name first.
I'm Cora Tanner. That's my mom. Yeah, I'm just here because I really like the library, and I support this tax. I didn't know that it was happening, so yay, that's cool. I think it's really important that we are more informed, and I like to be part of things. I like to know things. I don't like to sit here for 2 hours while they talk about boring things, but I'd like to know things, and I like to be informed about what's happening in my city. And I think it's really cool that Highland City is so great and we do great things. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I wanted to say.
Well, I think it's super cool that you came, so thank you. Are you in American government right now, class?
No, I'm not.
When you are, come back to me and we'll give you extra credit or something.
Okay.
You
Deal.
deserve it. Thank you. So nice to meet you. Thanks for coming and staying.
Thanks.
And I think it's the third Tuesday in June when we have our next main budget slew of things. So there will be another big load of really boring things to sit through.
Bring
if you'd
your
like
friends.
to come back.
Bring your friends. They'll love it here. We'll make them feel welcome.
Hello, my name is Laura Mills. I've lived in Highland just coming up on 3 years. I have an email from another resident, Jen Ashcraft. I won't read the whole thing, but I'll submit it, but I will read part. She says, I feel that a $30 library tax per household is reasonable, considering the benefits we receive from the library. Especially noting that the bonds will be repaid, I think the city is in a great position to focus funds in areas that benefit our community members, especially our youngest ones. So if the larger proportion of Highland City residents are not in favor of the library tax, I think it would be wise for the council to channel some of those funds that will be freed up from the payment of the existing bonds towards supplementing the library budget. And then for me personally, I know that I agree with everything that's been said. But from my personal experience, we've lived in many different areas, California, Idaho, Colorado. And as a young mother, I can't even put into words what a lifeline the library was. There were times I couldn't afford preschool, and the story time was our preschool. And, you know, and we've lived in areas where play dates for my kids before they were in school was really difficult, and parks and the library were everything. And so having that in our community, I think, is so important. I can say that in my home, we use Libby multiple times a week. I didn't realize the cost that it is and the lack of funding, and I support anything that we can do to keep that going. My daughter has volunteered with the library here. I don't know if there's more opportunities for volunteering. I'm gonna have my next daughter look into that. It's wonderful. And just to end, I'm not sure if you've seen the recent interview from former Congressman Sass he did with 60 Minutes. It was pretty powerful, but he talked about how that having a thick community is essential to counteract the thin communal life. He believes that the national political dysfunction is an echo of loneliness that is building, and that building strong local relationships is necessary to address that deeper. And that resonates with me, and for my personal experience, like I've said, in every community that we've lived in, the thickness that I have found has been at parks, churches, and library. It's just a huge part of that. So I appreciate anything that we're able to do to build it and keep it going.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and for your perspective. We appreciate it. Yeah, go ahead and add it. Jennifer and then Nicolina. Is Jennifer still here? No? Okay.
You have to do as well as your daughter.
Yeah.
I'll try. Yeah, she's good, huh? I was aware at the beginning of this evening that this was not a, are we keeping the library, are we not keeping the library meeting. I did understand that it was an increase in a tax to make the library better or more functioning. I just wanted to bring public comment that appreciates the library, and so if you voted in favor of the tax, you could feel really good about it. I have these other ones, I'll just turn them in, but I just want to say thank you for all that you do. It's very complex, and I love living in Highland, and I appreciate the effort and work you put in, so thank you.
Thank you, and please note, we will make sure that we all will read the letters, and we really appreciate the time you took to bring them and present them. So thank you, and
May
thanks
I
for
ask
coming.
how many you have, Mrs. Tanner, that you've turned in? I'm kind of keeping a running tally of.
How many letters did
how
you
many
turn
letters, approximately? That you read even previously? I counted 5.
Is there anybody else who would like to comment about the library, the budget? Hi, welcome.
My name's Wayne Stewart. The comments that I have here are more, not any criticism or anything like that. It's more like ideas that might help free up budgets.
Perfect.
Okay? So with regards to reducing costs to the library, things that kind of irked me a little bit was, if we're a community, as Councilman Smith says, then I should know the needs of the community. Because to hear that there's broken furniture in the library is irritating to me, because in the course of my business, I go through thousands of businesses that are going out of business. The chairs that you're sitting in here that cost you probably $800 to $1,000 a piece are now available for $80. Every monitor on this dais here is $125. Her laptop computer is now for sale for $250, right? So if there's equipment that's needed or furniture that's needed, it's available. As if you go around to the offices, they're empty because people have either gone home or they're transitioning to remote work or whatever. Warehouses are all full, offices are empty, and they're full of cubicles and desk furniture. It just takes a cursory look around to the different businesses to see this. I would like to be able to go someplace and see, okay, what does the community need today? Have I run into something that might help, right? Rather than seeing it show up on a budget line item as something that needs to be purchased retail, brand new, right? That's just an idea. The other thing that I wanted to comment would, and I like the libraries, I haven't been able to use it. The library could be more useful to business owners. There is one thing that is really useful, and that is the conference rooms. It saves me $125 if I can come here and meet with business associates instead of going to Regis offices and spending $125 to sit down for 30 minutes, right? I can go to a local library. That's very helpful to me. But there are databases that could be useful to us because Google has jammed themselves in between consumers and vendors. And it's all a skewed priced, outpriced us from being able to get access to information that used to be available in the libraries, like Thompson Registry, gone, right? Anyway, there's a lot of things there that might be useful we could collaborate on and make it more useful for businesses. The last thing here is we've been paying a fee for decades at our property to be grandfathered in on the PI, helped it pay for the infrastructure. And when we finished finally paying it after decades, then we were told by the utility district, oh, it's Spencer Cox's problem, that's his issue. I'm like, well, are they going to refund us the money that we spent over decades? And they're like, well, we don't really talk about that. That needs to be addressed at some point because there's a lot of people that bought into paying for the infrastructure, paid monthly to be grandfathered in so they wouldn't be metered. Now we're being metered but all of that money that we spent is just like gone. That's a real irritant for not only myself, but many others. And the other thing is the pathways that are being built through the culverts behind people's homes. That's really annoying. If you want a really uncomfortable walk, go on those pathways behind somebody's house where you can look right into their private spaces. It's like voyeurism. It's really, really uncomfortable. And the new pathways that are being built north of 9600 are in a mountain lion breeding area. Do people know that they're going to be walking through a mountain lion territory in the fall and spring? I don't think so. Just a couple of things to think about. Thanks for the extra time.
Hey, much appreciated. Thank you. Thanks for the ideas. Mr. Warren.
State your name.
Restate
your name. I feel like I'm being
Your
called
name
in
and
front of the
intentions.
class. My name is Mr. Warren.
That's right.
Wes Warren. I don't usually come up with prepared comments, but I thought I'd just jot down a couple of thoughts and put it down. And this doesn't really have to do with the library. It's just I've been thinking a lot about the idea of taxes and taxation. And this seemed like an appropriate time to share some of these. It seems like there's a popular sentiment going around recently that undermines our Constitution. And it's this idea that the word tax is a four-letter word. It's three, if you're keeping score. That taxation is some kind of evil that shall not be spoken of in a positive or supportive way. And I've heard this sentiment echoed in many meetings here in Highland and in this room. The Founding Fathers, when establishing the U.S. and the Constitution, they didn't consider taxation itself as immoral. It was taxation without representation that was so problematic. They treated unconsented, arbitrary, abusive, or wasteful taxation as the problem. And this is why this truth in taxation process is so vital, and why transparency with every part of the taxation process is necessary. The primary way taxes become immoral is when they are instituted without consent, which makes fees so problematic. If we're honest about furthering the vision the Founding Fathers and many subsequent leaders have had for this country, we need to end the derisive language aimed at taxation as a concept and speak of the taxes we pay as a sacred duty, creating sacred funds that should be spent to benefit as many people as possible. I think a solid middle-of-the-road position can probably be summed up by George Washington when he stated in his farewell address that no taxes can be devised which are not more or less inconvenient and unpleasant, but citizens should show a spirit of acquiescence when public needs require revenue. And then the same idea supported by Alexander Hamilton in Federalist Number 33, that the taxing power is one of the most important powers being granted to the government. We need to have a healthier relationship with taxes. We need to champion the taxes that we pay and how they appropriately benefit the general welfare and the public good. We need to shed the cynicism towards any and all taxes and embrace the perspective our Founding Fathers had regarding the necessity and the sacredness of our tax dollars. And honestly, I can't think of something more deserving right now in our city's history than the library. I lied, I was going to talk about the library a little bit. Yeah, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Wes. Would anybody else like to make a comment about any part of the budget? Please. Thank you for staying.
You bet. So I decided.
Can we get your name?
My name is Leanne Spencer.
Thank you.
And I live on the east side of North County Boulevard, and I've been a resident of Highland for 6 years. I think it was Sarah, who used to be on the council, that probably lured me over here. But one of the things I wanted to talk about today was how we have dialogue on the internet, and yet the dialogue isn't here in this room. You know, we can see that there's so many here that are for the library, and how grateful I am for that. Having lived in inner cities throughout the United States, being an educator as well as a volunteer, I have seen students using their cell phones as their internet to do their homework when the libraries were not open due to holidays and due to weekends and cuts in hours. I know here in Highland we don't feel that, we don't see that, but I'm here for the one who comes here after school to get their homework done, for the ones that are at American Fork and our consortium, that they go there and they have tutors, and that our kids can go there and be tutored as well. A tax is a tax only if we are not using it properly, as stated earlier. The second was our discussion yesterday online. Thank you, Doug, for bringing that to my attention. My concern is with the PI fee being moved only because we have this and we have had excess. And now we have a metering system that will begin. And as you were noting, Liz, that you were saying, whoa, I'm going to be blown away if we're having these rates that I anticipate coming. If we have had excess in the past that are being moved to the general fund to fund our parks and our common areas in the city of Highland, I don't want to be a, hey, we gotta stop that. I can't do that. Because it just brings fear to our citizens about what really is. But moving it over to what is taxed in the general fund, that's my concern, more like what Doug was saying, where we have a fee, it's in a fee bucket. And if we can figure out a way to make those funds available without moving them into the tax general fund, I think that would be clearer and more truth in taxation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment? Okay, seeing none, we will go ahead and close our public comment. Nope.
Catherine
Was
Schramm raised her hand.
Perfect. Catherine. Can we, let's see if we can help get a microphone closer to you.
I'm sorry, I'm a klutz.
No need to be sorry.
That's what 4 concussions does to me. I just realized that I didn't say anything in my crazy presentation. I was really nervous, and it will not cost the city 1 penny to do the right thing. And let us put A and B on the houses and on the mailboxes. It'll just help the mail carriers. The one on my district has been in the hospital a lot, and so he knows our district very well, but the people who filled in for him don't. And they are very conscientious. They've been trying to serve us and do it well. And I plead with you, please let us, Highland City, stop fighting with me, I guess. It's not going to cost anybody anything. And I'm tired of having 10 parcels on my front porch because the delivery system doesn't know what to do with the ones that are supposed to go to my renter. And that's all I wanted to say. It will not literally will not cost us a penny, but it will make people get along with each other a lot better. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Catherine. Anybody else? Okay, I really don't see anybody this time. Do you?
No.
Nope. Okay, we'll go ahead and close our public comment then, and let's head down to Councilmember Campbell. Do you have anything you want to add about the budget discussion? Do you have any said yet?
No, I'm good.
Councilmember Rice.
I just want to make sure that I just want to make sure that I have these as yeses. So I have Laura Mills, Ashcraft, Tanner. Plus I counted 10 more that Mrs. Tanner turned in approximately as yeses. I'm keeping a running tally of kind of on the library thing. Okay, I didn't count you. Okay, you're a yes. Okay, thank you. And I got Claudia. I got Claudia before. We've talked. Yeah. Okay. All right. Say that again. I'm sorry. Okay. Got it. I counted 25 more. Okay. So, tax increases are really, really difficult. I don't know whether, and it's never an easy thing, whether it's a little one or whether it's a big one, to do it. And I'm still a bit of a fence sitter on this. I am listening to the residents every day, Generally, my phone starts ringing about 6:30 a.m., and I have to turn it off at about 10 p.m., 9 or 10 p.m. at night. So I just really appreciate your input. I do want you to understand that my concern is what's coming down the road. And while we don't consider PI a tax, as you say, correct, it still walks and talks like a duck. And then we have other issues with Texas Instruments and dropping a well maybe, and those kind of things that we aren't considering. And the residents that I have heard from, and right now it's about 100 no's to 25 yeses, that they are, it's adding up. And most of those people are, I think, young families. I actually was pretty surprised at some of the ones that were no's. But I just want you to know that I do appreciate your input, and I really like hearing from you. Haven't seen Claudia for a long time, but I used to sit on the planning commission with her, and I helped with the library initially. I don't get a lot of credit for that, but I did. So, you know, I am concerned about the furniture and the repairs that are needed, or, you know, all of those things. I do believe that we do need to really educate the public. I appreciated this lady. I'm sorry, was it Mills? Mills. I'm pretty good at that. I taught school for 33 years. I generally remember. Your comment about Libby, because people don't understand that every time you renew it, every time you click on it, it's costing us and you money. And everybody loves Libby. I don't use it, but I know a lot of people that's their comment, is we don't want to lose Libby. So that being said, I just appreciate, you know, all Doug and Ron and the things, their kindnesses to me about hard decisions, even though it's such a small one, it seems. But it adds up. I don't really want to have it visited in 2027 or 2028, and I do appreciate the work that Karen does. I do. And I know we do need one more full-time person. I have tried to express to people that it's only about $30 a year. Like I said before, mine's more than that. But, you know, that's the cost of having something nice, like a library. So I appreciate that. I want each of you to know that. You're welcome to email or call me, preferably at a nice hour, and talk with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Liz. Councilmember Rodella.
No comment. I believe I've made all my comments. I support this tax. I support the library, and also the budget that we have, the tentative budget as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith.
So you know how I stand for the library, and I just want to talk a few things about Highland and then kind of address the overall budget. And 2 or 3 things. One, Highland has been on more than one occasion and recently ranked as the safest city in Utah. We also have one of the 3 highest incomes, median incomes in the state. So that's 2 amazing things. One thing, I like to compare sometimes to our neighboring cities, and they're bigger. And I have nothing against these cities. I serve on the Friends of American Fork Library and things, and my practice has been in American Fork. But American Fork is approximately twice the size of Highland. Their certified tax rate is twice ours, and their expenditures is 4 times that of Highland. So I think that reflects good on all the people in the years who have served on the council, who have tried to run this city very efficiently. So I think that is an important thing. And I think when we come forward and say, hey, we need to tweak this just a little bit, I think you need to understand that it's been after we've tried to do everything we can to keep things as economical as possible. So, you know, things may change. We may have some new revenue streams. Mike Kennedy, Congressman Kennedy, who's a former partner of mine, has been working hard with Senator Curtis to get our own zip code. Now, a lot of people say, why do we want our own zip code? so much of sales tax is generated through internet sales, okay? And even though there's that extra 4 digits on our zip code that should guide it to Highland, and that happens some of the time, how many times have you ordered something online and your address comes up in American Fork? So I thought it was costing us a few, maybe tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in sales tax. We had, when we did the general plan, they looked at it and it's millions. So we're going to soon, as I mentioned before, in 18 months, this city's going to be debt-free. And so if we get the property, or not the property tax, but we get some increased revenue, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years from our own zip code, we're out of debt and all those things, we can continue to run the city economically. I'd like to reflect a little bit back on what Mr. Warren said. I understand the discussion on taxes, and taxes really work when cities and states have to have balanced budgets. Where the problem we have in this nation is a dysfunctional national government who has ran $39 trillion in debt. So the city, we balance our budget every year. The state balances their budget every year. And when we do that, I think we can keep things lower. But when we randomly run all these debts and stuff, who knows where the money's going? So that's been a big discussion nationally. So I'd just like to just say a couple things about the budget. We haven't talked about line items and different things. There are a couple concerns. I wish the police chief was here because I always kind of like to give him a rough time, even though I consider him to be a friend. But one of the concerns we do have in the near future is because of needs for being competitive with other cities for staffing and things, and public safety is so important. If you average out the cost of our public safety, it's been going up about 11% a year. And that's a problem when our revenues are only going up maybe 3%. So at some point, we're going to run into problems with that. Because right now, without the public safety fee, which generates over $1 million a year, the 92% of our property tax and sales tax would go to Lone Peak Safety. So, you know, they give us great service, and I appreciate that. But I was going to tease the police chief because I noticed in the budget that they're only budgeting $150,000 or something for fines and dropped it by $50,000. And it just seems like if they're getting more money, they should get out there and giving more tickets to keep the city safe. Because we do have a constant stream of people coming in and saying, we are concerned about speeding and different things. So we're working on traffic calming and all those things. There's some money in the budget for that. But I think at the same time, we need to work not only as citizens, but as our Lone Peak Safety to make sure that we're kind of enforcing the laws and the rules. So I kind of work on that all the time. We're going to have some discussions about these e-bikes and all these things. That's been kind of an ongoing. But I just wanted to thank the staff. I want to especially thank our CFO. He's not here tonight. He lost his wife recently. But he's been an excellent, Dave Morrison's been an excellent financial officer. And we have reorganized, for those of you that have served on the council before, we've reorganized the budget so that it's very transparent, so that you can see much better idea of how much the different departments get. The other nice thing is this will be our third or fourth year, I think, third year, where we're going to have the citizens budget, where we display everything in pie charts and graphs. And some of us on the council have really encouraged that because we want to be as transparent as we can. So we want the citizens to know that your taxes, your fees, we're trying to use as efficiently as we can. What makes Highland great is the citizens that live here and the people that donate their time. I know there's lots of donations in a lot of areas, and I just want to say thank you. And it's an honor and privilege to have the opportunity to serve the council and to be here for a little bit longer. So thank you, but I don't have any big problems with the budget. I went through it pretty carefully. I think it's more transparent than it's been. I just think we need to have more fines from the police. And he's not here to tease, so that's okay.
We'll pass that along.
Okay.
Yeah. Councilmember Courtney.
Just briefly, I think that this is a good budget that staff has put together with input from council. Echo what Scott said. Really appreciate everybody who's put time in on this. I'd like to call out in particular Jay and Aaron, who have had to lean in a lot heavier on the budget this year than they ordinarily do, and just have done a really wonderful job with it. So I appreciate that. Thank you. I'd also like to encourage anyone who is here, anybody who is listening, that open house that we're talking about for next Wednesday from 5 until 8, which will be right here. If you're interested in understanding what's in the budget, that's the meeting to come to. We'll have a bunch of infographics up and charts up explaining different things in a little more detail, and people that you can talk to individually about it. So if you're interested in knowing where the revenues come from, where the expenditures are, that's really a key meeting to put on your calendar and attend. And Madam Mayor, that's it.
Thank you, Councilmember Courtney. And I think that's all we have on that topic. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion. I move that the Highland City Council approve the ordinance adopting the Highland City fiscal year 2026-2027 tentative budget and schedule the following public hearings to be held in the Highland City Council chambers at 6 p.m. 1, Tuesday, June 16th, 2026, to consider the adoption of the interim budget, and 2, Tuesday, August 11th, 2026, to consider the adoption of the final budget. And I'd also like to add that we publicize the open house that we're having on May 13th. That starts at 5 p.m. in the evening and goes to 8 p.m.
I'll second.
I have a question.
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
Sure.
So this is actually the approval of the budget?
Yes, this is the tentative
budget.
tentative budget.
This is tentative, is that right,
Tentative.
Eric, or whoever?
It's not for the tax increase, though.
But it
That
does,
comes
it
in
is
August.
approval of a tentative budget that does include a tax increase.
Right.
Right.
But it
They'll ha-
doesn't
Approve
approve
that.
the tax
No,
increase.
no, there'll be, that final decision won't take place until August 11th.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I beg
no,
your
you're good.
pardon. Yes.
So that was a motion by Councilmember Smith and a second by Councilmember Rodella. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Perfect. Let's start with you, Councilwoman Rodella.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Courtney?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Rice?
Abstain.
Abstain, okay. That passes with 4 council members in favor. All right. We're on to item F.
My last thing.
Which is, surprise,
no,
surprise,
E.
more budget things.
We have another thing. Perfect.
But my last thing, and I can't wait to go not be up here anymore. Okay, so best practice is to now adopt a resolution that says that we provided notice we were going to make a statement that the tentative budget includes a property tax increase. We made that statement, we provided the impact schedule, and we announced the future Truth in Taxation public hearing where the public can comment on the proposed tax increase. And so asking for your vote to approve a resolution that says we checked those items off our list. And will you go to the motion slide for me, Jay? Thank you.
I move that the Highland City Council adopt the resolution stating the city's budget officer stated the city's intent to increase property tax revenue and set a hearing date for the Truth in Taxation hearing of August 11th, 2026, and presented a property tax impact schedule and also presented the open house on May 13th, 2026.
Okay, we've got a motion by Councilwoman Rice
Second.
and a second by Councilmember Courtney, and we'll start with you, Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
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 Councilmember Rice? Yes. And Kim?
Yes.
I couldn't think of your name. I'm so sorry. That's fair, yeah. And that passes 5-0.
Madam Mayor, noting the time and noting that we still have at least 2 code changes to vote on, I move to extend the meeting to, we'll say 9:30.
I second.
Okay. Anybody need a break, or can we move along?
I would like a little break
All right,
because I'm old.
let's take, I am too. Let's take 5. but like actually 5. We would all like to acknowledge Sarah. Sarah, can you stand and bow?
Yeah. There are different standards for like open space. All right, I need to write home again. All right. It's built in there. Okay.
Hurts my right now. Perfect. All right. Yeah. All right, we're ready to get started. Wait for Councilmember Rice. All right, we have 2 more public hearings tonight. I think that these are both possibly items that we're going to want to think about a little bit longer. But I've asked Rob to kind of give us the information, present to us, and then we'll take public comment if we have it. And if we are not ready to make a decision tonight, we can postpone to our next meeting.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As the Mayor indicated, neither of these 2 items are things that are necessarily time sensitive. And if the council believes you want to take some extra time, make sure you understand it, consider options. Staff would certainly support that, especially after we've had a long budget discussion. We understand maybe you need a little more time, especially since we also got the packet out to you a little bit later over this weekend. So the 2 items these were both items recently discussed and recommended by the Planning Commission. The first one relates to a change we discussed regarding attached covered decks and patios, attached covered patios and decks, covered and uncovered, and essentially treating those instead of as part of the home, that in certain circumstances we can treat those as accessory structures, even though they're still attached to the home, to give especially people who live in open space neighborhoods with smaller lots more flexibility in how they can create gathering spaces in their backyard. Just a brief way of summary, the Planning Commission recommended adoption of this. They wanted to limit it to 1 story and keep it 66% open, so there's some visibility throughout. So that's kind of a very brief summary. I don't know if you want me to go in more detail, Mayor, but there are some other options for enclosure we can discuss, but again, trying to keep the presentation brief.
Let me ask, Council, is this an item that you feel prepared to vote on tonight? Do you have questions that he could clarify that would help us move along tonight, or is this something you need to think about longer?
I'd like to meet with Rod and kind of study this just a little bit more, because this comes out of the open space neighborhoods, doesn't it?
In particular, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm ready to vote on it, but I would still like to hear from the public, right?
Well, yeah, it's a public hearing, so we will hear from them.
I would like a little bit more time on this. I just want to see more examples.
Councilmember Courtney or Campbell, do you have an?
Yeah, I watched the Planning Commission and I support the recommendations. However, there are some things I don't quite understand.
So you would like some more time?
I watched it, and it's like, so I do need to understand it better. I agree with kind of putting it off here.
I would like to, I'm sorry to interject, but I would like to hear the setback, again, what, I was at Planning Commission, so
yes.
I think I have it.
So how would you like me, are we going to?
So, well, Councilmember Rice has had a question, I think.
Sorry,
No,
do you want me to clarify right now?
Well, it's up to you. At some point, I know you'll go through it, right?
Yes.
It doesn't have to be right now. I mean, whatever. I
All right.
just want to hear the setbacks and review what the Planning Commission, because not everybody has listened to that.
Yeah, that's what we
Okay.
need to clarify.
That sounds good. It also gives me, I haven't had a ton of time to prepare as well. I've been in and out of town, so I can come up with a little more diagrams and examples to try to make this a little bit clearer as to the council's options.
Perfect. So then you can bring that back to us.
Correct.
I think that would be the best. But I do want to hear from the public.
Right.
So let's go ahead and open the public hearing. If you have any comments about this item, thanks for coming and staying. Come introduce yourselves. I know that was a quick introduction, but if you have questions.
That's all I need. Adam Swordlow, spoken to a few of you before. I just want the the council to first acknowledge the cruel and torture that you put me through while eating cookies and not offering me one. So I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. It's about my patio. You know, we've talked about this before, but the setback rules are, because I've looked at them many times, if it's attached to the house, it needs to be 25 feet back from your property line.
I know what they are. I just wanted to hear it on the record. So
And if it's
go
not,
ahead, though.
if
Go
it's
ahead.
not attached, it needs to be 6 feet away from the house, and then it can be 10 feet back. Neither of which mine qualify for. I know that we're looking to change this, so I'll be brief, but curious on the 66% open thing. I don't know. Councilwoman Rice came over and took a look at the structure along with Mr. Courtney, and Kim and I spoke, and obviously Mayor Bills, you and I spoke, but we were unclear on what constitutes open on the 66%. I have a wall on one of my 4 sides, but I could argue that mine's 75% open because one of them is open just facing the house. So would like to understand a little bit more about that as well.
Is it attached to the house?
It is not attached to the house.
Oh, so it is open. You're 75%.
Well, okay, great. Sounds good.
Let's finish the comment and then.
No, I didn't know, like, it's very close to the house, so you could argue both ways. So I just wanted to, as you make this decision and bring this to a vote. Okay, great. If that's the case, then great. That's it. Thank you.
We appreciate the time. Thank you.
And you're chosen to have a cookie.
Well played.
You're such a dad.
Yeah, I really are. Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment about this item? Any other comments? I think this does affect a large number of homes, and especially in our open space subdivision, so it makes time to think about it. Do we have a motion on this item?
Have we? I don't believe we have closed the public hearing. And
Oh,
do we
yeah,
wish
we
to
should
do so?
close the, what are we doing? We're closing the public hearing.
We're closing public hearing.
Yep, done.
Okay.
Thank you.
And yeah, may I make one clear? My understanding is that with regard to opening, from reading the proposed code, that that structure would not qualify because it reads each side that is not attached to the house must be 66% open. That's not to say that's what we need to approve, but the proposed language is clearly talking about 66% of each side.
Okay. Perfect.
I'd like to make a motion that we continue this. Now, I guess the question I have with the council is do you want it to come back within 2 weeks, a month? I would like to make the motion that it comes back to the council in 1 month.
In 4 weeks?
Yes, in 4 weeks.
I'm good with the math there.
Okay,
4
very
weeks,
good.
1
4
month.
weeks. 28 rather than 30 days.
I haven't looked at the calendar. Is this a time where we're 4 weeks out only gives us one council meeting?
I guess my question for you, Councilmember Smith, would be, do you purposely not want it in 2 weeks or within a month? What was your intention on that?
What I was thinking is having a little more time to look at it, because in the next week or so, we're going to be going to the public hearing and a lot of different things on the budget. And so this is kind of intertwined with that. So I would just lean towards 1 month. If people want to not second that and go for 2 weeks, I don't have a lot of heartburn with that.
Thank you for the clarification. So 4 weeks is sufficient, so that puts us on June 2nd, which is our first meeting in June.
Okay, we've got one motion to continue. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, that was Councilmember Smith with the motion and Councilmember Courtney with the second. And let's go ahead and start with, yes.
I'm not clear if there was some additional question that we wanted to talk about this evening. Does a motion to continue open the main question for debate? I don't recall.
Well, I just wanted Rob to restate what the Planning Commission decided upon, because I don't think this is that hard. I mean, my vote is no to continue. So that's all. I mean, I don't actually care if we continue it, but we have a resident here that has waited a long time.
Well, I guess the question I have is if the 1 month makes a difference, because I think the structure is already built. Is that correct?
Well, and I think maybe.
So it depends on if we don't do this, whether we're going to
So
enforce
what is the
rules.
proper procedure? Rob, we have a motion and a second. So now do we have discussion or should we move along to a vote?
The standard, well, without memorizing the rules of procedure off the top of my head, but you do have a motion, so you can have discussion on it, but you can also just call for the vote on it and see if that handles, because if we're going to continue it for further discussion, we can answer questions about this at the future meeting.
Okay.
That might be a simpler way of doing it.
Well.
Mayor, I'd like to move the question.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a vote then, and we will start with you, Councilmember Courtney.
Yes.
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Rice?
No.
Councilmember Rodella?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. That's 4-1, and let's move along to the next item, which is even more complicated, which is our detached ADUs. I will not say the acronym.
So we're talking about DADUs.
I'm not talking about that. No, I won't say it. I won't say it.
So
I officially move that we call it detached ADUs and not DADUs.
I'll second that. Am I allowed to do that?
you're not.
No.
Do we have to do the
Alright.
same thing for IADOs?
So this is an item that has long been a topic of discussion among the council. It was one of the focal points of the general plan. It's been part of our moderate income housing plan. The Planning Commission has been discussing this for years. We had an initial kind of proposal put together in 2023, and then we kind of continued it to go through the general plan process. Our current general plan directs us, the city, to adopt a detached ADU ordinance this year. State law, coincidentally, also requires us to adopt one by October of this year. The Planning Commission has spent essentially every meeting this year talking about this and working through different options, and they have come to a unanimous recommendation for a set of rules and regulations regarding detached ADUs. However, again, the Planning Commission did take a while to get to this. This is an important item, and so like with the other item, and this is essentially, I think, more impactful to most of the city. Staff is also fully in support of taking a little bit extra time. The Planning Commission took several months to look at this. Our deadline is October, and we have several months to get there. I would, no need to delay it beyond what it needs to be delayed, but no need to rush it if it's not ready to be approved yet. And so we can spend some time discussing and kind of debating the various options. So I'd be happy to go into more detail regarding the details of the regulations, but if potentially going to have more discussion on this, I can save that for a future meeting.
Yeah, let's go ahead and proceed with this item like we did the previous one and open it up for public comment. Come on. Come on. Sarah.
Kurt. Mayor. Okay. Okay.
No, yes, please, come. Do you want to?
The question, just to repeat, was whether this deals with internal ADUs as well as detached ADUs. And I'm assuming that part of that question, implicit in it, is whether or not it deals with the mailbox issue. And I believe the answer is yes to all of the above.
Is that correct? Is that what the question, does that answer your question? Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Do you have any comments? Would you like to comment? If you, yes. Yep. No, and we got her. We did get her comments and appreciate that. Okay. Okay. Perfect. If there's no other comments, then we can go ahead and close the public hearing. I guess one thing I would like to know, Council, is if there are any questions that you are going to need to know the answer to that you didn't see in your packet, so that Rob has everything he needs. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to move that we continue this as well. So it's true the Planning Commission has been talking about this. We talked about this in the general plan. And I think there's been a lot of work done on this, but we've never really, as a council, had a kind of a separate discussion, or a lot of times these things come a week or two before we get to talk about it. And my concern is when I read through this, I had a number of questions. Like, we're going to have 2 mailboxes, which Ms. Schramm would like to have, but why don't we have 2 utility bills? What are the details? The devil's in the details there. And then I didn't realize when we were talking about this that you could put a detached ADU on a 1/4 acre lot. And you know, when we've discussed about it and kind of the overall thing, it's always been bigger lots. So my concern is I think we need to understand all of the ramifications of this, because in a way, this ordinance could open up a Pandora's box and basically rezone the city if people all jump on this. And so it's easy to say, well, we've talked to other cities and they don't do this very often, but Highland's pretty unique in that we have all these large lots. So if we open it up for everybody to have a detached and an attached and all that, I'm not opposed to that, because I had a lot of people talk to me about it. But what does it do to our zoning? What does it do to our infrastructure? What does it do to our utility billing? What does it do to our postal service? What does it do for our transportation? I'd just like to have a better feel for that, because it may not change it dramatically, and it kind of meets the push from the state to increase density in different things. But is that always a good thing without having a good, thorough discussion? So I would like to come back as a council and have a workshop and go through each kind of line and talk about what it means. So I'm not sure how everybody can have separate mailboxes but not have separate utility bills. How does that work? And yeah.
I would also be interested to hear from, in maybe that same conversation, from the Planning Commission, because they did spend so much time talking about this. Did you want to make a comment to that? You'll have to come on up and we'll allow. Just go ahead and give us your name, please. Thank you. Okay.
In our neighborhood, there's probably 10 or more people that have finished their basements and rented it out.
Sure.
Probably 15 years ago, I did the same thing. And so the problem with the mailbox is not a problem. In fact, the post office came to me for my unit and said, I can't deliver mail to 2 different families. So you need to put 2 mailboxes. And they sent me a card and said, you need 2 mailboxes. It looks like this. And it's simple.
Yeah.
It just has A and B. And that was not an issue with the city. It was the post office ordinance. They
Right.
said, you need to have 2 mailboxes.
Can we get
And
back to the
that's not the
microphone?
main discussion of this ordinance, though, because we've already, it's settled already in city ordinances and code that you can have attached, you know, things like Catherine has, a kind of a duplexing. That's all settled. I don't think it's an issue having 2 mailboxes for that. What I'm thinking about is detached units and how that affects utilities and mail and all that stuff. So having 2 mailboxes is not a big
Right.
problem.
Well, with this unit, you can only have 1 utility on the house. You can't
Right,
split
because
it
you're attached.
between the 2 families. Right.
Right.
So, but,
So we're talking about 2 things. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
yeah, right.
Yours is
So I'm just
attached in the
saying,
basement.
For Catherine's question,
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's a city issue that she can't have 2, because the post office told me I had to, or they wouldn't bring the mail. And to simply put A and B, which indicated there are 2 households on that property.
So
receiving mail service.
Well, and to Mrs. Osler's credit, in our neighborhood as well, which is about 4 blocks from you, the post office has said we don't have the big, giant
Big
ones
box.
for the whole neighborhood. They will not put just 1 up. They have to have at least 2 to 3 together.
So we were trying to be in compliance to the post office, but Catherine's getting the feeling that the city is telling her she can't have 2 mailboxes.
So I think that what we maybe need to do with this is maybe have a conversation with city staff to the side and talk about what the options are for her and going forward and address that situation specifically.
But there are, like I say, there are a number in our neighborhood that have the basement apartments. So the mail is all coming to one thing. I think it is an issue the city council needs to address because there's going to be a problem. They're not renting this to their children. They're renting it to other families, and their mail needs to come to their box, and it needs to show at their house for purposes of emergency vehicles that there's two units in the house, which the A and B shows.
So let's make sure, Rob and Aaron, can we make sure that we address that concern, and maybe we can talk to you specifically about the issue, but I understand it's larger than just your house.
This has been on my rental for 13 years.
Okay.
So I don't understand why it's a problem for her to get.
I don't understand either, which is why I'm saying I need to do some.
Just talk to the post office. I think they'll clear it up.
So let us do some research, and then when we bring this back, we can contact Catherine directly. She has my phone number. She's welcome to call me. But I think that this is something probably beyond, what we can decide as a council tonight.
Right, and I'm not opposed to the 2
I'm not either,
mailboxes, but what I would like to understand more with the detached ADUs, if you have 2 addresses, 2 post box, how do you bill through the utilities when they're detached? So it's a little easier when they're attached, like you are, and we passed that years ago on the council.
Yes.
I think it's fine if there's 2 mailboxes, A and B, but the thing is, I'd like clarification how this works, because how do you pay the utilities, how do you split them up? Because I promise you, if we have detached ADUs, people are going to be renting those out. So how do you count those people? How do you bill them? That's the questions I have.
So let's go ahead. I think that's good. So let's go ahead and add that to the list of items that we need to talk about when they came back. Catherine, you're welcome to give me a call, and we will make sure we get back in touch with you. Do you want to why don't you give me a call tomorrow, or any of us, and we're happy to talk to it. But I would like to understand, but I'm not sure that this meeting, I understand.
But the ordinance is focusing on detached ADUs. I understand, Catherine. I've been to your home many times, and I don't have any problem with you having a second mailbox. The question is, Catherine, is what to do with the detached ADUs. I just want clarification, because we got to figure out how that works. I know you don't, and I have no problem with you having 2 mailboxes. I think you're not understanding what I'm trying to say. Okay.
I think part of the yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Probably within a month.
Yep.
She has toggled with this for a long time.
I understand.
Just so you're aware.
And I think part of the issue that we may not be understanding is that Development Code 3-6247 currently says the front of the home shall not be modified in any form that will give the appearance that separate units are incorporated with the home. Here's the important part, including, well, see, it depends on here. It says including except separate addresses and mailboxes. So it's which of those you choose to read determines whether or not that's currently allowed or not.
So it sounds like this is another item that we need to bring back for more discussion and more clarification. Yes. I completely understand, Catherine. I understand what the issue is, and I think that it's something we need to talk about. And we're not talking about postponing this indefinitely or until next year. We're just saying we want time to think about it and make sure we get it right, because it affects more. Like you said, there are lots of these throughout your neighborhood and in the city, so we want to make sure we get it right. Yeah, there are lots of different circumstances, and one of the difficult things that we have to do, as you know, because you've done it yourself, right, is to create rules that we can apply generally. So, but I think that myself, it seems like all of us are willing to have that conversation, and if you would like a couple of us to come and meet with you and talk about your situation specifically, I think we're happy to do that too. We're not dismissing that it's a problem for you. We're just trying to find the appropriate venue to talk about it.
So I'm really kind of a little bit confused, because my concern is with the detached ADUs and understanding that. We've allowed attached ADUs forever. I think that Catherine's concerned, she just wants a second mailbox there. I have no problem with that. I support that. But that's not my concern. Because detached ADUs, which I basically support, has the potential of rezoning all the city in a way. And I just think we need to understand the ramifications, because if not, we're going to have to deal with all the problems and complaints if we don't clarify it now. And that's the only thing I'm talking about. I don't care if everybody has 2 mailboxes, but if, I just like to.
And I would agree with Councilman Smith, because the size that the Planning Commission decided on, even though it's larger lots, I don't mind continuing this one, actually, but just so you know, I mean, Catherine has spent a lot of time on this, and it is the code, like Doug has said, but the issue that I want to discuss it more. I felt like maybe the Planning Commission, they did a good job. I just felt like maybe they needed more discussion on it, because they went back and forth several times on size of ADUs, or DADUs, whatever you call them. I don't know. I'm still struggling with that. But yeah, I mean, I'd go for a motion on continuing.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
Yeah, I move that the city council continues the item until, do we want 2 weeks or a month?
Let's.
Well, we need to maybe have a
I'd like to have
workshop.
a workshop.
Let's move to continue, and do we need to put a date on it? Can we talk about a workshop and
As long
talk
as we
about
get
the
it
time?
done by October, we're
Yep,
okay.
and I would really like us to all talk to Planning Commission as well, because they put a lot of work into this.
Should
So
we say
let's
to
just
have a
make.
workshop?
Yeah,
A work
I'd like to
meeting?
have a workshop.
I was at the Planning Commission, and then I watched it again,
Yeah, I did as well.
and I just, I need some clarification. But I'll second Kim's motion.
Let me ask another question, though. So if we want to, I just want to look at the whole ordinance, but could we have a separate thing where we let the attached ADUs just have 2 mailboxes? I mean, that seems to me a different corollary that we couldn't maybe vote on sooner than later.
Yes, we
I
could.
mean, do we have to have it all in the one same ordinance? 'Cause
No, the way I've just written the ordinance is all ADU stuff is in one code section.
Right.
So we're also going to be updating the attached ADU things as well, and as part of that, we had proposed, with Planning Commission and staff proposed, clarifying that either kind of ADU, attached or detached, can have separate mailboxes. Now, we can have those discussions about whether should we just do it for, the attached and not for the detached, or how that works out. And we can pull just that one section out and pass an ordinance on that if you'd like. Yeah. But it is currently part of the overall thing, because we're just kind of touching everything ADUs and cleaning up all of that language.
Well, and I have a question as well, Rob, because what I'm worried about, what's going to happen here, is that will ruin it for, like, Mrs. Osler that already has 2 mailboxes. So, I mean, we need to clean. I mean, I don't know which part you want to clean up.
Well, so clearly this is something that we just need to bring back. So should we go ahead? We have our motion by Kim and the second by Councilmember Rice.
One other thing, on the ADUs detached, Scott's question, we do not currently allow separate utilities. It has to be shared. We would have to change that ordinance.
That's part of this ordinance.
Right, so you've addressed that.
Yeah, that'll be part of the discussion, is how the utilities will work.
Right, okay.
And I'll try to come up with some examples showing kind of how a lot kind of could be set up and how utilities, and I'll talk to our utilities people as well.
Right,
Okay,
good.
So, yes.
Let me ask one more question. So why couldn't we divide this ordinance into 2 sections with attached ADUs, and then detached? Because when I read through this, it's kind of all mixed together. And I'm just wondering if you couldn't do that. Because to me, it's 2 different issues, because we've allowed attached ADUs forever. And, but we need to kind of clarify the code. But the detached is a new thing. And I just think it should be separate and clear rather than mixing them together. Maybe that's the wrong idea, I don't know.
No, we can absolutely do it that way. When I was drafting it, the reason I kind of had it as, here's rules that apply to all kinds of ADUs, here's rules that apply to internal or attached, and here's rules that apply to detached, because there is a lot of overlap in the regulations for all ADUs. Like, we want them all to be owner occupied. We don't want, both ADUs, whether they're attached or not, to be rented out to two different families and they just become rental properties. So there's some things that are common between them. But if the council prefers, as part of the discussion, we can break it into, here's the internal attached ADU ordinance and here's the detached one.
Because they could be part of the same,
Yes.
but in two divisions, just to clarify it.
Yeah, so we can restructure it to make it clearer.
I don't know, maybe no one cares about that.
No, I think it's a good idea. Okay, so we've got a motion to continue by Councilwoman Rodella and a second by Councilwoman Rice. Councilmember Courtney?
Yes.
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Rice?
Yes.
Councilmember Rodella?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Okay, now we can move on to, we are all the way to number 4.
Madam Mayor, given that we have additional things to vote on that affect city policy, and it is now just after 9:30, I move to extend the meeting to, what do we have?
Why don't you just say until the business is complete?
Until the business is complete. I'm good with that.
And I think then, do we have a second on that? Okay, Councilwoman Rice seconded, and let's go ahead and vote. And Kim?
No.
Councilmember Smith? Do it.
Don't put a deadline that it's going to go on all night.
No.
Perfect.
Yes.
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 All right, I know that we for sure need to get through item 4B and 4C, but let's see if we can do A as well. It's an expedited item, so it should be quick. Jay, is that you?
It is me, but we discussed this. We discussed the cemetery
Yes.
fee increases last time.
And the
It
time
was in your
before.
packet. I know you all read it, so
It should be
Okay.
expedited. It should-
Perfect. This is item 4A. Do we have a motion? Do we have a?
I don't recall
Oh.
seeing anything firm in the resolution or the fee schedule that talks about rounding going forward. Is that because we will need to reapprove fees annually? And so we will simply deal with it manually that way rather than setting anything?
I don't understand.
The proposal in the staff report is to increase both the resident and the non-resident rate 3.5% annually starting in July of 2028 if we approve it to take effect now. With the plot prices rounding up to the nearest $10. I'm not actually seeing right away the place where we talked about future rounding, but I thought it was in here.
I read future rounding.
I think it is in there.
And I was just wondering, I didn't see anything in the resolution or the fee schedule that addressed that rounding, but it also looks to me like we have to explicitly approve a fee change every year. So is that why we will just manually handle it?
we just handle it the way we handle all rounding with all other fees. So we didn't feel there was a need to
Okay.
specifically
No, that's perfect. Okay.
say it for this.
Do we have a motion then?
Oh, I can. Did I say I would? I will. I move that City Council adopt the resolution approving fee schedule changes for fiscal year 2025, 2026, which changes the fees charged for cemetery plot sales and plot transfers and buybacks.
Second it.
Okay, that was Councilmember Rice with the motion and Councilmember Campbell with the second. And let's go ahead and start with you.
Can we have any discussion?
Do you want discussion?
Okay. I'm going to say why I'm going to vote against this. So we spent 2 or 3 hours fighting over a $30 tax increase per year average. And yet we're just eagerly increasing the cemetery plot fee by hundreds in 1 year, by 18%. I would do it more incrementally, personally. I think I understand the argument for making sure we have a perpetual cemetery fund. I just am uncomfortable with a great big jump in the fee here. So I would probably do it over a longer period of time. That's my only disagreement.
Anybody else have any comment, discussion?
I plan to vote in favor of this fee change, but given that the reason for it is for a long-term change and long-term stability of the cemetery, I would prefer for us to be adopting a policy of this is what we do going forward. That just seems like it's a better approach when the whole reason for doing it is as a long-term strategy.
We agree, Councilmember Courtney. If you remember, there's a resolution that governs how we do it now. Our intention is to update that, kind of put the final touches based on your vote tonight, put the final touches on the Zion study, update the resolution, and bring that back to you for your consideration.
I'm in favor of doing it now, because the sooner we do it, the closer we get to sustainability of the cemetery. And my goal personally is that we not have to use tax dollars to supplement the cemetery, which we currently do now. And I would like the fees to be such that it is operationally sound. And to be operationally sound, we have to be competitive with others. There was a lot of discussion we had in the last meeting about this, and we know that we're lower than many others. So we need to get up to where we need to be quicker, sooner than later, and then I think be progressive in moving towards sustainability of the cemetery where we don't have to use tax dollars to supplement it. I don't know that cities are in the business to run cemeteries. If it could be run separately, independently, by a nonprofit, a lot of cemeteries, not most, but a lot of them are that way. Forest Lawn in California is operated by a private nonprofit. But anyway, just making it sustainable financially, where we're not burdening the residents of Highland to fund it, would be a goal that I would work toward.
Could I just get a clarification? My recollection is that the fee changes that we are considering this evening are specifically designed with the anticipation that we will continue using general fund revenues to pay for part of the cemetery.
That is true.
Is that okay?
So we have our motion and our second. Do we have further discussion, or can we go ahead and hold the vote?
I'm just going to agree with Ron. I think it was well said. Ditto.
Okay.
Can I make one more comment?
Sure.
So I really appreciate the comments of everyone. One of the problems I have is we have these outside consulting firms, Zion's, Philpott, and different things. And it's always the worst case scenario. So we had Zion's come down to the North Point solid waste transfer. Their recommendations were that they raised the fees, tipping fees, by $4. That's devastating on city budgets. And so I kind of fought back on it because it would really change our budget. And so I think we have to be careful with these consulting people, because it's always raise more money and raise it now without any consideration about who's paying this stuff. And so I'm always kind of more leaning towards, doing things incrementally. And actually on the 18th of this month, we're having a special meeting down there to raise the tipping fees by $1. And of course, I think the city staff's been aware of that, but another one in January. So I just kind of worry about these consulting firms, because I've never had one come in and say, hey, this would be a better, more economical way to do it. It's always raise your fees and raise them now and raise them a lot. And so I get really uncomfortable with, but I understand what people are saying. I'm just uncomfortable with this big a raise in 1 year, but that's just me.
Jay?
I guess for future studies, is that something that we as staff should ask the consultants to look at? Does the rest of the council
feel
that scenarios where possible, ramping up fees?
As one of the options, that's one of the things I'd be interested in seeing.
Right.
Let's go ahead and can we go ahead and take our vote? Yes. Perfect. Let's start with you, Councilwoman Rice.
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Courtney?
Yes.
Smith?
No.
Rodella?
Yes.
Perfect. Moving on to 4B, the Trails Maintenance Package. This is another expedited item.
Yeah, we try to do an annual trails maintenance package. We went out with one. We got 4 bids in. The low bid on this project was Morgan Paving in an amount with a 10% contingency totals $112,090. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
$112,090, which includes the 10% contingency.
Any questions? If not, we can.
I'll make that motion.
Perfect, thank you.
I move that the Highland City Council award the bid for the Trails Maintenance Package to Morgan Paving in the amount of $112,090 as described in the agenda package.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Smith with the motion and Councilmember Rice with the second, and let's start with you, Kim.
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
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 Perfect, we're on to 4C. Also Chris.
Yes, so we went out to solicit proposals from qualified consultants to update our impact fee facilities plan and impact fee analysis for our streets. Based partly on some of the discussions that we've had on 11200, and then we've also got the transportation utility fee. That this will be the first step in updating that fee. So we got 2 proposals, one from Avenue Consultants for $26,150. They did not include a cost from Mr. Philpott for an IFA. However, Hell's did. The cost that included the IFA was for $28,100. Hell's also was the company that had completed the transportation element of our recent general plan update, so they're familiar with what we have here in Highland. And Mr. Hells himself is a resident of Highland, although I don't think he's with the firm any longer. So our recommendation is to award that to Hells Engineering in an amount up to $30,910, which also includes a 10% contingency.
Can I ask one quick question?
Sure.
So this is a study or recommendation, they're doing that. Why, unlike a construction project, why do they need a contingency fee?
We did this on another professional services, and so I included it with this, but I would not expect
So, I mean,
that
they're
we
not
would
building anything or when they're running into increased costs, because it seems like if you're doing a contingency fee, they're gonna use it for their study, you know? And, you know, and I think Mayor Osler, when he was visiting last time, brought up this idea. We do a lot of studies, we spend a lot of money on them, and this is one obviously that it needs to be done. But I think we need to be kind of step back and, you know, watch, you know, contingency fees and stuff on them. I don't know if we need that.
Yeah, especially on a study. I would agree. I would not expect that we would use it, and I honestly, probably in that sort of case, wouldn't have a problem coming back to the council if we increase the scope, because that's the only reason why I could expect us to use that contingency.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I move that the city council award the bid for the streets IFFP/IFA to Hales Engineering in amount up to $30,910.
So we're gonna make any mention of the contingency fee, is that?
I think we should.
The contingency is included in that. If
It is.
They're right. That's 10% of that is.
Right.
I think we need to subtract it out.
You want to subtract it out?
I mean, he did mention, though, that that is there in case for some reason we want to increase the scope of the project for any reason. So that contingency, I guess, would be up to us if we, for some reason, see something that we want to increase the scope of their research. And
Do you want me to withdraw the motion? Because I do have a question. So, Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Do you want me to withdraw the motion?
Do you want to just, yeah, let's withdraw the motion and then ask your question.
Because, so when it says up to, what are the chances of it going up to that and then beyond? I guess, Chris, is the question.
Absolutely nothing.
I wouldn't see it going, I think that if we wanted a scope change, then we could go up to that amount with the council's approval of this motion. If it was to go over that, we would have to bring it back to city council.
Right.
I would only see it going over if really there was a scope change. The bid without the 10% contingency is $28,100. If the council would prefer to make a motion for that and not include a contingency, then if we did have a scope change, we could bring that back for approval from the city council at that time.
I move that the city council award the bid for streets IFFP IFA to Hales Engineering in the amount of $28,100.
I'll second it.
Okay, we've got a motion by Councilmember Campbell. Do you want to say that amount again?
$28,100.
And a second by Councilmember Smith, and I assume that's a number minus 10%.
Right.
Okay,
That's the amount of their bid.
and let's go ahead and take a vote, starting with Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
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 What if I had gone in the opposite order?
Then I would have waited.
It would have been so
You turned and looked
confusing.
my direction.
I
No,
did.
if you had turned and
I'm
looked my
gonna turn
direction
and
and
look
then
your way
said
and say Councilmember Smith next time. I'm gonna do that. Okay, perfect. Oh, no more votes tonight. Okay, so
This
we're set
doesn't
with there.
preclude-
We're
I'm
gonna
sorry.
play a game now with these next items. We're skipping item 5B. The game is you have 30 seconds or less to explain your item. Aaron, on
I
your
need
mark.
a slide.
Get set. Nope. Wait. Go.
As a reminder, council each elected official has $3,000 per year you are able to spend on a project that is meaningful to you in the city. I have in front of you a chart that has what is remaining for each of your positions, as well as a note on what it was spent for. Mayor Bill's, some of yours got spent by a former mayor on some banners. Councilmember Courtney, yours was spent on some things for the library as well as Easter. Councilmember Rice has offered to use her money to purchase a shelf for the truck for library book transfer. If you do not have to use this money, but it expires June 30th, and if it is for something that needs to be ordered, I need to know sooner rather than later so we can get it here by June 30th.
So we get another 3,000
July 1st is in the budget right now.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you. Well done within your 30 seconds. Now, Rob, you've got 30 seconds for council training and compliance requirements. Ready, set, go.
Just three things that you might be having us reach out to you over this year. First, an ethics statement. We know you do the conflict of interest statement. You have to do that every year. As part of the fraud risk assessment, you might remember one of the things is that every city officer and employee signs a thing saying they pledge to act ethically. We'll be asking you to complete that. Second thing, those of you who have assignments dealing with youth minors, there's a requirement, a fairly new requirement of state law that with a youth organization, we're supposed to have volunteers be background checked. So if we reach out to you on that, that's why. Final thing, new state law again. There is a new year-end campaign finance disclosure. So if you still have funds in your campaign account that you're carrying over from year to year to use in a future election, you now have to file a report by, I think it's January 10th, regarding the outstanding balance in that. Stephanie will be following up with you on that, so nothing you need to do right now. Just want to give you the heads up of that's a new law that you might have to comply with going forward.
I have a question about that. Do you want me to call you?
I think you took advantage of me giving my daughter a goodnight hug by taking more than 30 seconds.
I think I was under 30 seconds.
No. Go ahead.
So, on a campaign fund, particularly with my bank, they automatically close the account unless you put in like $2 or $10 or something just to keep it active. And then I was going to pull it back out. So, but it's still considered my campaign fund.
That is still your campaign fund. The money remains in there until you withdraw it and dissolve it through the process the state requires.
But it's me donating.
Yes.
To me. Right, okay.
I would contact Stephanie when she's back with questions. She handles all the campaign
Okay.
finance items.
Well done. Yeah. Chris, you ready for your 30 seconds?
Yes. We have no water.
I didn't say go. No. Okay, go.
Utah's in a drought right now. You can see there's a lot of red on the drawings that we have now. I think two of the things that I wanted to mention is when we met previously, we said that we would only water our ball fields, part of our parks until May. This is actually May now, so I've asked Josh to take a look at some of the areas that are the most stressed and to start beginning to water those based on prioritization of our open spaces. And we'll just try to slowly work our way in and increase our watering. But one of the things that I wanted to point out to the council also is Provo River is telling us that our allotment from Provo River might be at 50%. So if that's the case, then we will be probably eating into some of our banked stored water up there, just to try to, even if we ask residents to decrease their usage by 20%, that 50% reduction will be difficult for us to still keep watering. And we can keep the council updated as things progress.
North County Boulevard is in horrible shape, and the grass is not growing, and what's growing really, really well are the weeds. And it just looks horrible. So I think in the future, as we as a council make decisions like we made, we need to kind of look at how did we get through this, and did we make the right decision? Because if you drive around the city right now, it's not a pretty sight, and that was our decision, and that's not on the parks at all. But I think there's going to be some recovery of that grass. The only other point is that I did a deep dive because I went to the league's convention and went to their water conservation training, and I personally have done research on tall fescue as a drought-tolerant grass. We're in love with our Kentucky bluegrass, but maybe over time we can start converting our parks to, because I have already overseeded. You just overseed the Kentucky bluegrass with the tall fescue. It'll do great in a drought environment. It doesn't do so well in the winter, so I've got both. I've got the bluegrass and the other, but I think looking at things like that, we need to take maybe a little more attention to the decisions we make and what we're recommending to the Parks Department in the future.
Along those same lines, as you're looking at places that may not be doing so well, one thing that I hope you'll consider is maybe some of those places are places where we shouldn't have grass. If they are particularly difficult to water, if they do particularly badly with a lack of water, maybe that's a place to look at putting some different kind of landscape in.
And you know what, I agree with that.
Kind of piggybacking on what Doug said, do we have, well, I can call you.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman, I had started to speak, if it's okay.
Oh, I thought you were done.
No, I just barely started. So, you know, I agree with our concerns that we need to be careful, but I do know that this happened, is that this year with the dry season, I'm a gardener, and I've lost a lot of stuff that didn't get any water. So I think it's important that we water as much as we can at the first part of the year to resuscitate things, because we don't know. I mean, we got a little more rain today in that, and I'm an optimist. But I really think that I want to do this, but I'm not sure that what I would recommend is that we try to keep our trees alive, number one, and that we work with the citizens to conserve as best as we can. But I agree with Doug's concern in that, but I'm not sure that it's good to let a lot of things die right now, because it still may. Who knows? It's turning a little bit wetter and cooler, which has been a great blessing. And I'm an optimist, so I think we need to be prepared, but still assume that we may have some good breaks. So that's where I'm coming from. Okay, Councilman, sorry to interrupt, but I was trying to start. Yeah.
Hear you, Scott. Sorry,
Yeah.
didn't. So I'm not sorry. I just didn't hear you. So I just was curious, and you don't have to answer this right now, but do we have any money set aside? You know, when Doug said, you know, maybe we need to not have grass, that we could have the rocks, you know, the decorative rock. Do we have any money set aside for that in the budget at all? And you don't need to even. I don't think we do.
I don't think so.
I didn't see it. So okay.
It is something council could consider adding, as some one-time funding at this point. There's not a ton of ongoing funding remaining, but there's some one-time funding. We could do that if that is something you'd like to see.
And just to be clear, I was thinking more of just identifying things as more of a longer term rather than let's write in and redo things.
Okay. Perfect, thank you. Hey, Chris?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything. I appreciate it. All right, community development. Anything?
No.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, we do have let's see, do you have something?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. And I think we need to just clear the air and clarify things a little bit. So as members of the council, I have great respect for everyone on this council. And I might not agree with you all the time, but I still consider you to be my friends. And I'm really kind of worried that when I happen to smile at somebody next to me or crack a joke or something, because I've always done that with whoever sat by me, that it's assumed by someone else on the council that we're making fun of that member, because it isn't true. And so, I think we need to kind of maybe do some introspection, that if we talk or I say a joke or that, because I've always kind of joked around a little bit, and I try not to do it at the expense of other people, especially on the council, because I respect everyone, but I don't think other members of the council should assume that because I smiled at Kim or turned my head a little bit, that the whole audience out there is watching us make fun of someone else. And I think that is paranoia as a physician, and I think it needs to stop.
Well, and I appreciate that comment, Scott. It's not, I don't know if it's a member of the council as much as it was others watching.
Well, we get told that all the time, but you know what? It's okay if I smile at someone or say a joke. It doesn't mean it's at your expense, Liz, and I'm really sorry that you're so angry at me because we don't agree necessarily on some of the funding for the library.
I'm not angry
But
at all.
but at
Yeah.
the same time, it needs to stop, because we are a group of colleagues, and we need to work together, and we need to realize that I consider us all to be friends. But if I can't look at anybody or smile or say anything to Kim without it being called out, I'm kind of disturbed about that.
Well,
and so I'm going to bring it out here, because I hope other people are watching this,
Yeah.
because I think it's inappropriate, and it's not anything that I mean. I value your judgment. I value your opinions.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
I was just relaying what somebody had texted
Well, we
me,
don't
so-
need to know that in council meeting. If those people think that, it's okay if they think that, but we don't need to be told that, because it's not true. So if those people want to come and sit in the meeting, they're more than welcome to do that, and they're welcome to talk to me. But I don't want to hear that somebody out in the audience out there thinks that you rolled your eyes or made a joke with Kim and it's about you. It's not true.
I do appreciate the kindness that Doug and Ron have shown me. So I think we've said enough on that. Thanks.
On a slightly lighter note, recalling some of the jokes that we have shared when we sat next to each other, I hope that you guys are turning off your mic when you're sharing them.
Well, I don't think we have to sit here like robots either, I don't know.
We have a lot of fun. Whoever I sit by, though, we have a lot of fun.
And I miss showing my puppy videos to Kim. I mean, they're so cute, and I miss Kim's baseball games with her
Should we
kids.
go to closed session?
Yes.
Let's do it.
I'll make that motion. I move that the Highland City Council recess the regular city council meeting to convene in a closed meeting in the executive conference room to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation and the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property.
Second.
And let's do a roll call. Kim?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Ron? Yes. Liz?
Yes.